People at Marvel, join the group chat. The scorching sun, the yellow sand, the blazing breeze. At a glance, you can see the endless loneliness and the eternal tone. It is in line with people's basic understanding of the desert. Afghanistan, desert. The scorching sun and the rolling yellow sand. There were several men wearing desert clothes, gauze scarves on their heads, goggles on their faces, and holding microphones. At this moment, we were patrolling along a fixed route under the scorching sun and the breeze carrying yellow sand. Behind him is an inconspicuous low mountain and a lonely valley. There are several lookout towers on both sides of the valley, and 4 or 5 heavy machine guns are set up below, as well as various types of ammunition visible to the naked eye. Including but not limited to grenades, rockets, etc. It can be said that he is armed to the teeth. The interior of the valley is quite wide, with a manually dug passage lined with cargo boxes of various file sizes. It is obvious that they are all kinds of weapons and ammunition. Next to the cargo box, there are missiles of different lengths and thicknesses standing upright and exposed to the scorching sun. This is the base where a group of terrorists are located. Is a loyal customer of Stark Industrial Arms Division. Definitely, the order was not approved by Stark himself. It's just that some people are not satisfied with the status quo and want to eat both ends. Even wanting to replace Tony Stark. At the edge of the valley, there was an extremely conspicuous figure, but no one noticed it at all. He looked at the busy terrorists below with a hint of ridicule. "Mr. Stane, if you want to take away this share of equity in my hand, this price is not enough. Look at the group of terrorists who are still busy." Moyu gently raised his right hand and held it empty-handed with his 5 fingers. A long stick with a black body and golden hoops at both ends gradually emerged in his hand. Superhero entry? Forget it, it seems a bit silly. Holding the dark alloy rod in his hand, he walked towards the valley step by step with a slightly leisurely pace and a rather casual expression. Dark data masking, lifted. The main goal today is to test my ability. The secondary purpose is to make some subtle changes to the world line and to verify some ideas. Finally, it was because someone wanted to steal his little money. Today is not a good day to play stealth, but a good day to play wushuang. There is no need to use dark energy to block other people's perceptions. The main character is an arrogant one. Once the dark data mask is lifted, the sentry immediately discovered his uninvited guest. A series of unintelligible languages come one after another. Although I can translate it, I am too lazy to translate it. Anyway, except for 1 or 2, there won't be any living people here today. It is said that when a person is about to die, his words are kind. Just think of it as their last words. Before Moyu could fully enter the valley, 2 men armed with chargers had already raised their guns and took aim. He looked like he would shoot if he moved forward. Phew! There was a roar, and the dark alloy rod in Moyu's hand was swung out. The lightning speed makes people unable to react at all. In the blink of an eye, 2 men holding micro guns flew out upside down, and with 2 muffled sounds in succession, they hit the mountain walls on both sides. Although they didn't use much force because they had reserved hands, and the 2 people didn't explode directly on the spot, they still couldn't die anymore. I just do this because I don't want blood to get on my body. The death of the 2 terrorists instantly solidified the atmosphere in the valley. In the blink of an eye, various roars sounded one after another. Moyu then faced the dark muzzles of different styles of guns. Bang bang bang, da da da. Dozens of fully automatic rifles fired one after another, and a dense rain of bullets instantly enveloped Moyu. If it were an ordinary person, he would probably have been shot into a sieve by now. A small amount of flesh and blood was found among the large number of warheads, or something. However, the reality is more magical. Moyu, holding a dark alloy rod, walked through the dense rain of bullets unscathed. This dense rain of bullets couldn't even slow down his pace. Bullets with a muzzle velocity of more than 1,000 meters hit him and were either bounced off or turned into a small discus due to the interaction force. No defense at all. Many terrorists stopped shooting and looked at the guns in their hands with blank expressions. The usual murderous weapons, which can kill 1 person or even several lives with 1 shot, are actually useless at this moment. Is the other party a devil? Panic gradually spread. Intensive gunshots, roars, and panicked noises constantly echoed in the valley. Damn, he's a monster. It's the devil, The devil is here to punish us. Shut up, keep fighting, or you will die if you step back. Among the noisy terrorists, a guy who looked like a small leader shot the idiot talking nonsense around him, then quickly picked up a rocket launcher from the ammunition box behind his back, and aimed it directly at the still unfazed person. Moyu is coming. His eyes with a little blood were full of ferocity, and he roared with a rocket launcher. Go to hell, monster. Trigger, pull, bang. The thick rockets rushed towards the advancing Moyu with tail flames. Seeing the rockets coming, Moyu calmly raised his right hand and clasped his fingers lightly, and the rockets that were coming at high speed were directly caught. Although this thing can't hurt him, the residue after the explosion somewhat damages his image. You know, being handsome, that's a lifetime thing. Because one rocket will disgrace him or something, it's better to avoid it. The next moment he raised his hand to pinch the rocket, he flipped his wrist and pointed the warhead in the direction it came from. He released his fingers. Phew, before it was time to detonate, the rocket with still strong kinetic energy returned directly along the original path. No. Shit. In a series of despair, anger and yelling. The rocket hit directly. Boom, a violent explosion, coupled with a strong rising fire. Within a radius of 10 meters, no one survives, only broken limbs. 10 meters away, there were a few lucky people who survived, but they were still rolling and wailing with their defective arms or thighs. Purgatory on Earth. Looking at this scene, Moyu didn't feel any sympathy. Ordinary people, as long as they don't slap their noses in their faces, they generally won't teach them a lesson, let alone take their lives easily. However, what is in front of me is a terrorist with no humanity, his hands covered with blood, and he is burdened with blood debt. He is a great traitor and evil person, so be quick to kill him. It's my turn, right? Moyu held the dark alloy rod, and the pace gradually accelerated until it completely turned into an afterimage. In an instant, many Moyus appeared throughout the valley. When the stick comes out, people die, at the same time, inside the cave. We have time, Ethan. Listening to the gunshots and explosions coming from outside, Tony Stark, who had just put on the Mark I, looked at Ethan in front of him seriously. Ethan turned his head and looked at the progress bar on the old laptop that was not even halfway through, with a calm expression. If the movement outside means that your rescuer is coming, then what do you think they will do with such a useful hostage like you here? Tony was speechless for a moment. He is not stupid, and neither are the terrorists. Of course he knew what terrorists would do in this situation. He was used as a hostage for the first time, forcing the US Army to stop the rescue operation. Even when the situation is over, decisively reject the vote. No matter which one it is, not only has his time not increased, but it has become more urgent. The turmoil outside is not a good thing for him. Stark, let me buy you some time. Ethan smiled lightly and said with a faint smile. No, Ethan, we still have time. Wait. Seeing that Ethan had picked up the rifle and faced the passage, Tony, who was still unable to move, suddenly turned red. Take care, Stark. Ethan took one last look at Tony, gun in hand, and strode out. Ah! Ethan roared and fired into the air, forcing back the terrorists who were rushing inside. As for why he shot into the air instead of killing people, the reason is simple: he is a doctor, and his duty is to treat illnesses and save people. Ethan. No. Looking at the place where Ethan disappeared, Tony turned his head and looked at the progress bar that was still beating little by little, his heart full of impatience. He knew what would happen to Ethan if he went there. Outside, there are inhumane terrorists, and they will not abide by any convention not to kill doctors. What Ethan has to face is almost certain death, but, at the moment, he had nothing to do. Just like the despair he felt when he was just captured by terrorists. Now, he can only pray that the progress bar will go faster. It allows him to save Ethan in time, who is buying him time. Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. Before I knew it, the shouts of killing, the sounds of gunshots, and the sounds of explosions had gradually come to an end. The progress on the notebook in front of me reaches 100%. Program writing, Mark I armor, start. Without any time to think, Tony pulled down his mask and strode out of the cave while driving the clumsy and heavy Mark I. There were no major obstacles on the way. There were no enemies. No familiar voice and shadow, not even a body on the road. The ominous premonition in my heart became stronger and stronger, and the pace that kept making dull sounds also accelerated a lot. The entrance of the cave is getting closer, however, there is no crisis at all. The long-lost sunlight made Tony squint his eyes. After adjusting to the harsh light, Tony quickly glanced around. What came into view was a hellish scene. Corpses all over the valley. There was no one left alive, and there was no support from the American army, not to mention Ethan, who had rushed out to buy time for him. Horrible, yet weird. Ethan. Answer me, Ethan. Standing at the entrance of the cave, Tony shouted Ethan's name over and over again. However, there was no response. Tony's heart sank completely. All emotions turned into anger at this moment. Looking at the weapons and ammunition produced by Stark Arms Industries all over the valley. Silently, he turned on the flamethrower switch. Thick flames spurted out instantly, covering all the ammunition boxes. Finally, he looked down at the corpses on the ground, and an indelible sadness flashed in his eyes. He couldn't stop and look for Ethan. They couldn't even collect his body. He didn't know what happened before, but it was obvious that the military was not here to save him. It may be gangsters or local government troops. But no matter which one it is not suitable to stay here for a long time. He had to go. Get out of here. Fuel channel opens, ignition. The bulky Mark I soared into the air like a giant missile and broke out of the Hell Valley where he had been imprisoned for several months. He's saved. On the mountainside behind, Ethan, who was still in shock, looked at the Mark I soaring into the sky, and couldn't help but have a smile on his face. He saved another person. After a moment, Ethan put away his smile and turned to look at Moyu, who was also smiling next to him. Gentlemen. Sir, there is actually no need to save me. Looking at the mysterious man beside him, Ethan shook his head. His parents, wife and daughter all lost their lives at the hands of terrorists. Now, he has long lost the will to live. The reason why I didn't commit suicide to find my relatives before was just because I thought I could save one more person, so I just held on. Now, those who should be saved have been saved. It's time for him to meet his family. From the moment he rushed out of the cave with his rifle, he was determined to die. It was the man in front of him who saved him from the deadly hail of bullets. Thank you very much, but it's not necessary. Your thoughts have nothing to do with me. I just suddenly wanted to save you, so I saved you. Turning to look at Ethan, who had already given up his mind, Moyu still had a smile on his face and his tone was full of indifference. This is just a small attempt. There is no too clear purpose. What Ethan thinks is none of his business. I just wanted to do it and did it. Very simple. Ethan was a little stunned and smiled casually, but I still want to say thank you. Do you need me for anything, sir? If this broken body can still do something meaningful, Ethan will not refuse. No. Moyu shook his head slightly. That's it. Ethan nodded silently, and then said, then, goodbye, sir. Don't ask about your name or origin, just a simple farewell. Obviously intending to take this secret away with him. Moyu turned his head slightly and said quietly, do you need me to take you back to Gumila? Thank you, sir, for your kindness. Ethan shook his head. To me, it's the same everywhere. The small town of Gumila was originally his hometown. But now it has been destroyed by terrorists and has become one of the terrorist lairs. He didn't want to cause any more trouble to this kind gentleman. Then let's just say goodbye. Moyu nodded, sighing in his heart, and his figure gradually disappeared. An adult with a mature mind, a clear will to die, and no worries. There is no way I can persuade him to come back. For Ethan, death is relief. As he said, his parents, wife and daughter are all waiting for him. Living is more painful than death. Moyu's sudden disappearance did not surprise Ethan. After all, he had just experienced it personally before. He just took one last look at the direction where Stark disappeared, pushed up his glasses, turned his head, and walked toward the distance alone, gradually disappearing into the yellow sand. It didn't take Moyu much time to get from Afghanistan to the Empire State Building in New York. After returning to my own floor, the first thing I did was take a shower. Although there was no sand or dust on his body, there was still a faint smell of blood. This was a bit annoying for him, who also had an extraordinary sense of smell. After washing up, he walked out of the bathroom with a bath towel on his body. A drop of water that had never been wiped off slowly slid down the sturdy waistcoat line, drawing a delicate arc. Turn over and lie down on the lounge chair in front of the floor-to-ceiling window. He took out a mobile phone, with a little teasing on his lips, and clicked to call back. "Hey, Mr. Stane, I have the latest news here, and I'm honored to share it with you as soon as possible. I heard that people from the military have found Mr. Stark. Have you received the news?" In the entire Stark company, the person who least wanted Tony to come back safely was Obadiah Stane on the other side of the phone. After all, this guy was the one who planned Tony's murder. It's a pity. Those terrorists were a little greedy. Not only did they temporarily increase the price, they also wanted Tony to help them manufacture the Jericho missiles, so that both parties could take advantage of it. The result was not what he expected. It even made Tony create a Mark I to escape from the tiger's mouth. There was silence on the other end of the phone, but the heavy breathing gave away something. "It seems that Mr. Stane is very happy, so I won't interrupt you too much. Goodbye." Without waiting for the other party to respond, Moyu hung up the phone with a happy face. "Want to grab the little money that belongs to him? How can you do it without playing to death? I hope you can play with me for a little longer, Mr. Stane, and don't die too early." Throwing away the phone in his hand, Moyu lay down on the recliner with a comfortable look on his face. Comfortable, in fact, he is a time traveler. That was not long ago. I still remember that at that time, he was still packing his luggage, preparing to take the last flight and choose to return home in glorious clothes. But for unknown reasons, he had just stepped out of the room and appeared inside the towering Empire State Building. At the same time, there was a preliminary understanding of the world in his memory, and he had a legal identity belonging to this world. A small shareholder of Stark Industries, no more than 2%. It's just magical, but he wasn't very happy at the time. Because this is Marvel, although it's just the MCU, not the comic book universe. After all, the latter is naturally more dangerous than the former. But to him at the time, there seemed to be no difference. Both were extremely dangerous. As Moyu just landed, the first thought was to quickly book a flight back to China. You can avoid most troubles after returning home. Except for the snap of fingers 10 years later, which requires a bit of luck, and a few disasters that affect the world and even the entire universe that cannot be avoided, most troubles cannot affect him. He can be a rich man with peace of mind. However, in the end he chose to stay. This is not surprising. As a time traveler, how come there is no gold finger? Naturally, he is also a man with worries. That is a very magical progress bar. It has no intelligence, cannot talk to it, and does not have any guidance. The only thing that is known so far is that every time the progress bar reaches 100%, he will get a reward. The content is completely random and cannot be defined. As for whether there is a way to increase the progress bar and whether the content of the reward can be determined, it is not yet known. I went to Afghanistan today because I actually wanted to see if disturbing the so-called plot would cause the progress bar to grow. But the result is regrettable. The progress stripe doesn't move at all. It is still advancing by 1 percentage point every calendar day, and there is no intention of changing it at all. Definitely, it may be that the degree of his interference is too small and the growth requirements may not be met. But that is something to be dealt with later. At the beginning of time travel, the first reward he received was the fighting gene from Sun Wukong, the victorious Buddha from the Super Seminary. Super soldier fighting and defeating Buddha. Close black lens bracket, created by the top god of the Kamigawa civilization. Teacher Wu, using a piece of monkey hair of unknown origin and using super genetic technology, it is a super warrior who sleeps in myth and is used to protect the Shunzhou continent. Close black lens bracket. Origin. Unknown. Limit. Unknown. Reason for awakening. Unknown. Close black lens bracket. Current gene version. Fighting Buddha and Kamigawa beast body. Close black lens bracket. Kamigawa beast body. Completely immune to ordinary thermal weapon attacks, ignores nuclear weapons strikes, immune to advanced concept rewrites, resistant to large solar flare bombings, unable to withstand supernova explosions, invulnerable to god-killing weapons that are not specialized in decomposing super genes. Close black lens bracket. Already equipped with dark plane combat engines, duplication, immobilization, energy burst, blazing eyes, 3 heads and 6 arms, heaven and earth, star movement, etc. There are more combat engines waiting to be independently developed. Close black lens bracket. Current equipment. Dark alloy rod, dark alloy armor, somersault cloud. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Close black lens bracket. The above is the main reason why he dares to stay on the map of New York. As long as it's related to Brother Monkey, it's basically not easy. With this power, as long as you don't get into trouble with anything too perverted. For example, the group of gods, the 5 gods, etc. If it's just for self-protection, that's enough. Ever since Tony returned and immediately announced the closure of the Stark Industrial Weapons Department. It has been nearly 2 months. Tony was immersed in the development of the Mark II in his coastal villa and almost never showed up. Since the announcement of the closure of the arms industry department, Stark's market value has fallen again and again in the rest of the month. Many small shareholders who had no vision chose to sell their shares, and Moyu also took the opportunity to make some profit. Not much, just increased from 2% to 5%. Obadiah Stane was also very busy and had little time to trouble Moyu. After all, although Tony, the chicken that could lay golden eggs, was not dead, it still brought him another golden egg. Obadiah won't make much move until he gets this golden egg. And Moyu, since his last trip to Afghanistan, has almost never left home. At this time, there wasn't much for him to plan, other than grabbing a handful of stocks and making a little money. What's more, I haven't fully mastered the super gene I just acquired, so I don't have time to take care of other things. Although the combat gene he got is the complete version, getting it does not mean that he can use it like an arm and a finger. It still requires a process of continuous learning and control. This will undoubtedly take a long time. Under night, Moyu stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window with a little expectation in his eyes. Today is the 100th day since he traveled to this world. The daily progress of 1% has now reached the critical point of 99%. As soon as 12 o'clock at night is passed and the progress is completed, the second arrival will come. The first one is something of the super gene level. This second one after 100 days. Moyu can't help but have a little expectation. He won't despise his ability too much. As long as there are abilities that he can control, he will be able to gain more and more abilities. After all, the world right now looks calm on the surface, but secretly, there are dangers everywhere. There is still a thunder buried in the ball at your feet that will explode completely in a short time. The moment the clock strikes 12 o'clock at midnight, the hidden progress bar also filled up. In a daze, Moyu felt something that seemed to be paper suddenly appear in his hand. This time, it's not the ability class, but the item class? Moyu subconsciously lowered his head and raised his hand, then was stunned. Invitation? The paper item in hand has 2 prominent gilded characters written on it, Invitation Volume. The texture is quite silky and soft, but its essence is extremely tough. The rather ancient and heavy aura exuding from it made him a little afraid. Moyu even doubted whether he could leave a scratch on it with all his strength. Subconsciously, he frowned, squinted his eyes, and carefully looked at the invitation in his hand. What surprised him was that apart from these 2 words, there was no introduction at all. There is no place, no time, and no detailed introduction. In this situation, Moyu was a little confused for a while. An invitation with only 3 words. Lonely, what type of invitation ticket? A feast? What happens after he uses it? Moyu felt a little hesitation for a moment. The super gene of fighting victory Buddha indeed gave him considerable power. But this power also has limits. If there is something terrifying behind this invitation, is it too hasty to use it rashly? Analyze rationally, or trust your intuition. After staring at the invitation in his hand for a long time, Moyu slowly mobilized dark energy. He chose to trust his instincts. The next moment dark energy was injected into the invitation, an illusory interface unfolded in his mind. Feeling the very familiar interface in his mind, Moyu was stunned. Group chat? Good guy, is this invitation an invitation ticket for a certain chat group? At that moment Moyu was stunned. The originally blank interface began to scroll, and messages appeared one after another. Beep. Playboy Stark, Kamigawa Warrior Moyu, join the group chat, close black lens bracket. Traveler Ying. Welcome newcomers, take awesome photos, close black lens bracket. Trailblazer Star. Welcome newcomers, take awesome photos, close black lens bracket. Slime Rimuru. Welcome newcomers. You too should restrain yourself a little, don't scare the newcomers, close black lens bracket. Traveler Ying. This is not important. I haven't added anyone to the group for a long time. Today, 2 people came at once. Is today a special day? Close black lens bracket. Slime Rimuru. This is a good thing. It's lively when there are many people. Close black lens bracket. Trailblazer star. When new members join the group, remember to read the group membership notice. Some things are too time-consuming to explain. Slime Rimuru. And more, please allow me to explain first, although I am a monster, but I am not an evil slime. Close black lens bracket. Traveler Ying. Although. But. I just killed a bunch of slimes today. Slime Rimuru. Don't tear me down, you bastard. You've already told me that I'm different from the slimes you've met. Hey, I always feel like your words are full of malice. How can it be repaired if it looks like that? Close black lens bracket. Traveler Ying. Do you blame me? Close black lens bracket, Slime Rimuru. Playboy Stark. A very good drama. It made me happy after a long time. Tell me, how much does this technology cost? I bought it, close black lens bracket. Traveler Ying. Another newcomer who didn't see the group notification. Speechless.jpg. Trailblazer star. Wasn't it the same for you at the beginning? But then again at Playboy Stark, are you rich? I don't know how it compares to Esta. Traveler Ying. It feels like there is a big boss among the newbies this time at Xianhei Warrior Moyu. The big boss is here. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Close black lens bracket. There was something strange in Moyu's eyes as he silently peeked at the screen. Good guy. They're all acquaintances. Traveler Ying, from the original God. Pioneer Star, from Stardome Railroad. Slime Rimuru, this one is even more familiar. And I wonder if it's Tony from the same world as him. This group is interesting. Moyu was not in a hurry to bubble up, but he followed the advice and opened the so-called group membership notification and looked at it carefully. Living in an era of information explosion, he also likes to play games and read novels in his spare time. He knows the basic routines. I don't know what kind of existence this group is. Some are perverted, some are useless. I don't know which type this one he joined belongs to. Use the fastest time to complete browsing the group joining notifications. Moyu raised his hand and touched his chin. For now, it appears that this group is limited to chat. There is no group store and there is no sign-in points or anything like that. Only for people from different worlds to chat? Simple is a bit too much. Forget it, at least it can bring some joy. Although this reward didn't really help him, it was better than nothing. At least you can chat and argue with your group friends when you're bored. It's also a good way to spend time, able to talk and chat with familiar people. Maybe it won't be so lonely and boring, right? Probably. Coastal Villa, underground research room. Tony frowned, holding the wrench in his hand and lost in thought, as if waiting for something. Behind him, various data jumped rapidly on multiple monitors. Apparently, Jarvis is busy. Sir, everything is normal in the villa and there are no abnormal fluctuations. After a moment, the voice of Jarvis sounded. It's kind of like a ghost. Could it be true? Listening to Jarvis's report, Tony muttered to himself. There are really a lot of weird things that I encountered during this period. First, the terrorists in Afghanistan were inexplicably slaughtered. Then a group suddenly appeared in his mind, and there were several special beings in the group who claimed to be from different worlds. Weird. Sir, your mood swings are a bit big. Based on your previous experience, I think you may be suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, which is mainly characterized by excessive vigilance, increased startle response, and may be accompanied by inattention, increased irritability and anxiety. Your situation is consistent with the latter. I think it is necessary to inform Ms. Pepper and... Tony's face darkened. Shut up, Jarvis. There's no need to inform Pepper, I'm normal. What if I informed Pepper? He couldn't go to the hospital because of the reactor on his chest. But Pepper will definitely call a bunch of private doctors to give him a full body checkup. Troublesome. Okay, sir, shut up, just shut up. Jarvis chose to mute itself as a matter of course. Is there really a multi-universe? Tony propped his chin on one hand, his eyes a little distracted. Shouldn't that thing just be a theory? Indeed, many scholars have been trying to prove the authenticity of the multi-universe theory. Did not expect. It was through this ridiculous method that he silently proved the authenticity of the existence of multi-universe in his mind. A magical Group that can connect people in different universes and different worlds? Just to create a place where people from different worlds can chat? The being who created this group must be a genius like him. Interesting. Tony turned around with the wrench. Jarvis, create a new project in my private server. Multiverse world, confidentiality level. Highest, keywords. Pioneer Star, Traveler Ying, Slime Rimuru, and there are Kamigawa warriors, don't worry. I need you to search these words as much as possible in your free time and collect all possible useful information. Well, those related to me will be reported first. Okay sir, Jarvis responded immediately and got to work. Although Tony knew that he was looking for a needle in a haystack, these people may not be in the same universe as him. But it's always good to know more about relevant knowledge. He is a genius. Temporarily putting aside the idea of further investigation, Tony chose to dive. His Mark II hasn't been completely perfected yet. Although I really want to get a set of information in the group, now is not the time. The priority of Mark II is greater than anything else. Sir, the project has made progress, do you need to report? Tony, who was just about to start debugging data, was stunned. Is there any progress on that project? It's a top secret project, multiple worlds, sir. I searched for the existence of a shareholder named Moyu in the company's shareholder list. I'm not sure if he is the relevant person you are looking for, but I still feel that I need to report to you as soon as possible. Make a brief report. Oh, Tony suddenly became interested. Bring out his information and show it to me. By the way, list the identity information of all the current shareholders of Stark Industries. I need to take a closer look. There was a breakthrough just after the project was established. Although it is most likely just the same name, this does not hinder anything. He may not have a good understanding of the shareholders in his company for a long time. Just take this opportunity to sort it out. His kidnapping does not look like a coincidence. Maybe. Okay, sir, the information on the screen changes rapidly. The first thing to appear was Moyu's personal photo. Next to it is a series of personal information, as well as all behavioral activities in the recent period. China boy. Tony was stunned, and the corner of his mouth twitched slightly. I hate guys who are younger and handsomer than me. Sir, you are at a charming age, Jarvis said with relief. Have a vision. Tony raised his eyebrows and felt much better. Then he turned around and looked at the personal profile listed by Jarvis and the rows of information on it. Origin, very ordinary, it's not a prestigious university. It was purely a coincidence that the other party became one of the shareholders of Stark Industries. But this life experience is indeed very inspiring. From being indifferent to holding 0% of the shares, in just 6 months to now, he has become one of the major shareholders, holding 5% of the shares. Very discerning, but too coincidental. Tony's expression was slightly serious. It happened that he started to collect those scattered stocks that were sold off after he announced the closure of the Stark Industrial Weapons Department. During this time, most shareholders were selling shares of Stark Industries. But the only exceptions were Stane and Moyu. The former knows that he has a super technology in his hand that is enough to subvert the current situation, so he is not surprised. But Moyu's movements were a little unusual. Sir, I found 2 call records. The content of the calls is temporarily unknown. Maybe you need to pay attention. The screen jumps again. 2 strings of data immediately came into view. Looking at the call time on it, Tony's breathing slowly became a little rapid. 1 calls in and 1 calls out. The first one was on the 7th day after he was kidnapped by terrorists. Something happened to him. It is not incomprehensible that Stane wants to collect Moyu's shares to maintain the finale. It can be explained forcefully. After all, at this time, Moyu was not the only shareholder who recorded phone calls with Stane. But the other call came in at noon on the day he had just escaped from the terrorists' lair, with an error of no more than 5 minutes. You must know that when the military found him in the desert, it was already more than an hour after he escaped from the terrorists' lair. As for Stane's call records that day, there were only 3 pitiful calls. 2 calls in, 1 call out. The one who calls out is Pepper. The ones who call in are Rhodes and Moyu. The latter is in front. What's the explanation this time? This special time period undoubtedly touched Tony's somewhat sensitive nerves. Are Moyu and Stane related to his kidnapping? Are the 2 parties related, or is it one-sided? Tony didn't want to believe his reasoning. The fact that he was kidnapped by terrorists has something to do with Stane? Although I already had doubts in my heart, sir, need to inform. Shizune. Tony gave the order with a sullen face. Jarvis's voice fell silent, and even the music that was playing stopped. There was silence in the basement. Jarvis, I want to get the details of these 2 calls. Sir, this is illegal. I need it, Jarvis. Okay, sir, we are hacking into the communication base station and communication satellite route server to intercept the call content information for you. Don't worry if you are still diving. At the moment, he didn't know that Tony had traced the obvious traces to him. But even if he knew it, Moyu wouldn't care. Besides, even if I knew, what would happen? There is no hostile relationship between the two. Mutual benefit and reciprocity are normal operations, right? At the moment, through a short period of diving, he had a rough idea of the current situation of the group members. As a traveler, Ying was on his way to Liyue to attend the ceremony of inviting immortals, and he had now arrived near Shimen. It probably won't take long to arrive at Liyue port. It wasn't long before he was wanted. As a pioneer star, at the moment, Yulilo 6 has just arrived and is currently on the way to find the star core again. It won't be long before he's wanted. Rimuru was in the stage where he had just defeated the Pighead King and had not yet established diplomatic relations with the Dwarf King. It feels quite leisurely. As for the Playboy Stark who disappeared without a trace after just popping up, Moyu was unsure about it for the time being. The number of Marvel multi-universes is too numerous to count. There simply shouldn't be too many. Who knows which version of Tony this Stark is? He didn't even know whether the other person was a boy or a girl. Not to mention the rest. Just when he was about to take a dip, Stark, who had been diving for a long time, suddenly appeared in the group. Playboy Stark. At Xianhei Warrior Moyu, is 5% of the shares enough? Want some more? Anyway, a bunch of people without vision are selling now. If the funds are not enough, I can lend some. Close black lens bracket. Several question marks suddenly appeared on Moyu's head. Before he and the group members could reply, the phone that had been thrown aside in the real world started ringing. After looking at the caller ID signature above, Moyu raised his eyebrows. Good guy. The Tony in the group seems to be the Tony in his world? Even if it is, you didn't expect to be able to lock his identity so quickly? But think about it. If it was really the Tony of this world, then it wouldn't be difficult to lock him through the tales he left behind that he didn't even bother to erase. You can make bold assumptions and verify carefully. It's too much of a coincidence. The heavens and worlds are so vast, you can actually enter the same group in the same world at the same time. Interesting. After thinking for a moment, Moyu picked up the phone and answered the call. Tony's voice sounded immediately. Hey, my major shareholder, did you see the news? You're really fast, Mr. Stark. The corner of Moyu's mouth curled up, but I think you should prioritize dealing with the problems around you now instead of busy giving me shares. After all, if I want more, it's really simple. Although the super gene of Dozan Shen Buddha is a combat-specific type. But the ability to access the dark plane is still a dimensionality-reducing blow to the current material world. As far as the computing power of his current dark plane gene engine is concerned, any network technology, artificial intelligence, or large computer in the real world cannot catch up with him. He really wants to make money. He can become the richest man in the world with just one thought. It's just not necessary. The reason why they decided to acquire shares of Stark Industries at this point in time was purely in response to Obadiah's threat. I just wanted to cause him some trouble. Who made this guy semi-threateningly want to take away his equity at a bargain price? How could he, who had just traveled through time, bear this anger? You can't take away what I don't want to give. Tony on the other end of the phone was silent for a while, and he knew that Moyu was secretly reminding him. But he really didn't want to delve into this topic now. After all, he had already checked almost all of these, so he changed the subject and said, compared to those, you interest me more. Although I'm a little unhappy that this group gave me the title of Playboy, it seems to be true. I guess your situation is the same. So, Kamigawa Warrior, you should be responsible for what happened in Afghanistan, so I only have one question now. Tony's tone was extremely positive, but if you think about it, it's not hard to guess. Just. Problem? What questions would Tony ask him at this time? Ask. Moyu shrugged. What I want to know is, Tony's voice suddenly sounded. Ethan. How is he? Is this the first question? It seems that he really cares about it. Mr. Stark, Moyu said softly. I think Ethan told you that he misses his parents, wife and daughter very much. Definitely. Tony nodded immediately. I even mentioned to him that I would visit his home, but unfortunately he was rejected. That's a little confusing to me. It's right not to think about it, because his family has been killed by the terrorists who imprisoned you. If you want to visit, you can probably only go to God or Satan. There was silence on the other end of the phone. Tony felt as if a stone was pressing on his heart. It's so dull that it's hard to breathe. What Moyu said to him was almost clear. It doesn't take much thinking to know the final outcome. I see. Tony answered softly, his voice a little dull, and then hung up the phone. Obviously, he was not feeling well at the moment. At the same time, because of Tony's speech, the group seemed to become a little uneasy. Trailblazer Star. What's going on? What's the situation? I seem to have learned some breaking news. At Playboy Stark at Shianhei Warrior Moyu. Are you two actually from the same world? Close black lens bracket. Slime Rimuru. Judging from what Playboy said, it's most likely yes. Close black lens bracket. Traveler Ying. Although this situation exists, but it's a bit outrageous anyway, right? The probability of being bumped into by two newcomers is so small. Close black lens bracket. Pioneer Star. At Shianhei Warrior Moyu. This guy has never been in trouble, okay? Maybe I've been peeking at the screen. Close black lens bracket. Kamigawa Warrior Moyu. Traveler Ying. Oh, a newcomer who has been diving for so long is finally willing to take a dip? By the way, are you two really from the same world? Isn't it some kind of Wulong incident? Close black lens bracket. Kamigawa Warrior Moyu. It has been confirmed. We are indeed from the same world. We just ended the call. Close black lens bracket. Traveler Ying. Outrageous.jpg. Close black lens bracket, Slime Rimuru. Outrageous.jpg. Close black lens bracket. Pioneer Star. Ridiculous +1. It's actually true, but Rimuru, why don't you say goodbye? Close black lens bracket. Slime Rimuru. That's right. The existence of the group is outrageous enough. Things like death and reincarnation as slimes have happened. There are even people from the same family as me in the reincarnated world. For people from a certain country, what else is there to be surprised about? Close black lens bracket. Kamigawa Warrior Moyu. There is really no need to be so surprised. After all, this small group gathers all special beings. One of the alien twins traveling through the star sea. A star core carrier of unknown origin. And a reincarnator. Slime. None of them are simple. Close black lens bracket. As soon as these words came out, a row of question marks suddenly floated up. Traveler Ying. Close black lens bracket, Pioneer Star. Close black lens bracket, Slime Rimuru. Close black lens bracket. Playboy Stark. Wait, why did you only mention 3? Close black lens bracket. Don't worry, you are special, no need to emphasize it. But Tony, who was holding the wrench, thought for a moment and concluded that he was excluded by this guy Moyu. He is a genius. Why? Doesn't he want to lose face? Traveler Ying. The newcomer is outrageous. Trailblazer Star. It's really outrageous. Newcomers who join the group cannot see our previous chat records. In other words, this guy directly locked our specific identities through our names and a brief peek at the screen. Close black lens bracket. Slime Rimuru. Even though the group name revealed the fact that I am a slime at the beginning, being able to pinpoint Hoshi and Ying's identity is outrageous. At Shianhei Warrior Moyu, you just said that no one in the group is simple, and this sentence definitely includes you, so if it's convenient, introduce yourself. Close black lens bracket. Not only Rimuru, Hoshi and Ying also expressed curiosity. Kamigawa Warrior Moyu. You and I are actually pretty much the same, Rimuru. Close black lens bracket. Slime Rimuru. Similar to me. Are you also a reincarnator? Close black lens bracket. Rimuru's eyes lit up, and he suddenly felt like he had found his family. Just very excited. Kamigawa Warrior Moyu. That's not the case, there is still a slight difference. You are a reincarnated person, and I am just an ordinary time traveler. Close black lens bracket. Traveler Ying. What an ordinary time traveler, walking A6 alone. Close black lens bracket. Pioneer Star. Traveler. Confirmed to be a boss, leg pendant is scheduled. .jpg. Close black lens bracket. The three of them are all strangers to time travelers. Rimuru was reincarnated into modern society. Although he is a social animal, he knows a lot about this aspect. As for Xingheing, there are more channels, right? Whether it is the world of Genshin Impact or the Starry Railway, there are many time travel novels. It's easy to understand what a traveler is. Naturally, we also understand the special nature of the group of travelers. Combined with Moyu's ability to quickly identify their identities, after thinking deeply, an answer that made their mouths twitch suddenly came to their minds. Traveler Ying. The case has been solved. Our existence is actually not unfamiliar to Moyu, because Moyu already knows about our existence through some kind of carrier, and even all our experiences are. Pioneer Star. A comic, a novel, a movie, a game, tisk. Although I generally don't like spoilers, I might have to make an exception this time. Close black lens bracket. Slime Rimuru. I feel the same way. Close black lens bracket, Kamigawa Warrior Moyu. There is no need to worry too much. It may be difficult to accept at first, but that is not important. Future. Destiny. In fact, it is not fixed. What kind of future we will move toward and what fate we will embrace are all decisions made by you and me at the moment. Close black lens bracket. No matter what kind of future and destiny it is all guided by our own choices. Close black lens bracket. And what I see and know, the so-called your future and destiny, is just one of countless possibilities. Close black lens bracket. Moyu didn't dare to speak too fully. After all, such things as fate are elusive. No one is sure whether what is happening now is destiny. That concept is too abstract and cannot be defined by humans. Tony, who was still looking at the screen on the other side, changed slightly. Obviously, judging from the fact that Moyu easily found the terrorist's lair before and saved Ethan accurately, it is not difficult to guess that the other party probably knows about his future. So, Playboy Stark. So, you also know that I will be kidnapped by terrorists. Close black lens bracket. Kamigawa Warrior Moyu. I know, but unfortunately, I came too late. Close black lens bracket. You know, but who told him that Tony had already been kidnapped when he came? Blame him? Playboy Stark. Shit. Tony covered his head, his face covered with black lines. Is this the reason? This makes people very speechless? Slime Rimuru. So, Mr. Stark's future trajectory has been changed. Close black lens bracket. Playboy Stark. Maybe, I'm not sure. Close black lens bracket. His trajectory may not have been changed, or it may have been, who knows. Anyway, he himself doesn't know. Kamigawa Warrior Moyu. The future is not static, and destiny must be broken through. For example, in your future that I see, there is no group. Close black lens bracket. The appearance of the group was indeed unexpected. After all, the invitation to join the group is a reward for the progress bar. He didn't expect it to develop in this direction at first. After all, the first time was to fight against the super gene of the Buddha, and the second time was suddenly an invitation. He can imagine it. Pioneer Star. Indeed, the emergence of the group has changed certain trajectories to a certain extent, giving us a different future direction from the us in Moyu's perception. Close black lens bracket. Traveler Ying. The truth is this, but I still want to hear the spoilers. After all, our destiny trajectories are always similar. Maybe we can get the information we want from another branch. I believe this can save a lot of trouble. Close black lens bracket. Trailblazer Star. It makes sense. I'm currently on Yalala 6, at Xianhei Warrior Moyu. Do you know where the Star Core is on Yalala 6? Close black lens bracket. Kamigawa Warrior Moyu. The Star Core is in Yongdong Ridge. Close black lens bracket. Pioneer Star. I really know. Thank you for the reminder. We will leave for Yongdong Ridge tomorrow to seal the Star Core. This is a sure thing. Close black lens bracket. Done. Xing, who was lying on the bed of Gerda Hotel, clenched his fists. I'm such a genius. I can handle it easily. Tomorrow, I can set off with March 7th and Dan Heng to Yongdong Ridge to seal the Star Core. This is my first pioneering journey. It's safe. Traveler Ying. At Xianhei Warrior Moyu, I want to ask about news about Kong. Moyu, do you know? Close black lens bracket. Yingmei, who was resting at the tea stall under the stone gate, was secretly looking forward to Moyu's answer. After traveling for so long, Mond was turned upside down by her, and the god of wind had already seen him, but there was still no news about Sora. If you say you're not worried, that's a lie. Now it is possible to get information about Kong from Moyu. Ying is both looking forward to and afraid. What he was looking forward to was that he might get news about Kong from Moyu. What I'm afraid of is, the news I got from Moyu was bad news. Facing Yingmei's inquiry, Moyu thought for a while and then spoke. Kamigawa warrior Moyu. I don't know much about Sora. The news is not complete. There are good and bad. Are you sure you want to listen? Close black lens bracket. Traveler Ying. I'm mentally prepared, please. Close black lens bracket. Whether it is good news or bad news, even if you don't worry about telling it now, you will know it in the future. It is better to know earlier and prepare earlier. Kamigawa warrior Moyu. Well, the good news is that he is still alive and seems to be safe. Close black lens bracket. Traveler Ying. That's it. I feel a little more relieved. Close black lens bracket. Yingmei breathed a sigh of relief. Just be alive. Kamigawa warrior Moyu. I haven't told you the bad news yet, Ying. Close black lens bracket. Traveler Ying. Tell me, I'm prepared. Also, can you please stop breathing heavily when you talk in the future? Close black lens bracket. I always feel like this guy did it on purpose. The corners of Yingmei's eyes twitched slightly, and she suddenly had an unknown premonition in her mind. Kamigawa warrior Moyu. Ahem. Okay, the bad news is that Kong seems to have joined the Abyss camp and is called His Royal Highness. He is currently preparing to restore Canrea and start a war with Tianli. Close black lens bracket. Oh, by the way, the leader of the Tivolan incident was Sora. He was also present at the time and looked at you for a long time. Close black lens bracket. Theoretically speaking, you are now the princess of the Abyss camp. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket Traveler Ying. Close black lens bracket although I am mentally prepared. But when she heard this, Yingmei couldn't help but remain silent. Sora actually joined the Abyss camp and took charge of the Tivolan incident? Sora was actually there when Tivolan was fighting? Then why not meet her? Also, Her Majesty the godly princess of the Abyss. Does she care? Decided. When you see Sora, you must punch him hard. In order to find him, I had to eat and sleep in the open every day without missing a meal, and I was often involved in all kinds of messy things. Forget it all, she could endure it in order to find Sora. But now Moyu tells her that Kong has been watching her all the time, but he has watched her fall into various predicaments, even led by Kong himself. This made it difficult for her to hold back. Next time we meet, I must give him a good punch. Hey, Ying, what's wrong with you? Seeing that Ying was in a daze after she sat down, he shouted several times but got no answer. Paimon, who felt something was wrong, raised his hand and waved it in front of Ying's face. Huh? What happened, Paimon? The silent Yingmei suddenly raised her head and looked at Paimon next to her with some confusion. You ask me what's wrong? Seeing that Ying had regained consciousness, Paimon put his hands on his hips and said, You have been in a daze since you sat down. I called you several times but you didn't respond. Are you sick? That's not the case. Yingmei shook her head slightly. I was just thinking about inviting the immortal ceremony. What kind of god is Liyu's rock god? I don't know if I can get any information about Sora from the other party. Don't worry, Paimon said with a smile on his face. I will definitely find it. I will bet on my honor as the best guide in Teyvat. Sorry, Paimon. I have actually gotten some of the news about Sora. However, I still want to say thank you. Okay, it's almost time to rest. Let's go on. If we miss the ceremony of inviting immortals, we will have to wait another year. Yeah, I'm almost done resting, let's go. Although part of Sora's news has been known, Iwagami still wants to meet him. Under the stone gate, two figures, one large and one small, embarked on their journey again. Heading in the direction of Diwajo Wangshu Inn, we walked further and further away. Slime Rimuru. That's great. Although the news is mixed, at least Ying can feel relieved. Close black lens bracket. So nice. This is not necessarily the case. Moyu shook his head secretly, but he was not very optimistic in his heart. After all, Mi Huyu's knife was really caught off guard. That's a knife wrapped in exquisite sugar coating. When the sugar coating on the outside melts away, you will experience what pain is. Pioneer Star. So, Now that we know the fact that Moyu is prophetic, doesn't Rimuru have anything to ask? Close black lens bracket. Slime Rimuru. Huh. Me. I don't really have anything to ask. Anyway, I'll ask you later when you run into trouble. Some people may envy the ability of precognition, but in fact, after having precognition, you may be very excited for a short time, but as time goes by, the future will become completely devoid of novelty. Every day when I wake up, I already know what I will experience today. It's like reading a pure mystery novel. When you open the first page, a red circle marks that this is the real murderer. Isn't this bullshit? Close black lens bracket. That makes sense? But for some reason, only one picture appeared in Moyu's mind. If he is the one with the red circle, and secretly appreciate the expression on the face of the second person who opens the novel. It feels so evil. Ahem, he is not the kind of person who likes spoilers. Unless the person involved strongly requests it, I will not take the initiative to spoil the story in the future. A bit too wicked. Thinking of this, Moyu's attention immediately returned to the group chat. So, do you want to remind Xing that they will be wanted by Cocolia tomorrow? If she didn't ask, just telling her would be a spoiler. It's not good if you don't tell me. Well, if you change the angle and regard this matter as a surprise. Kamigawa Warrior Moyu. Star. There will be a surprise tomorrow. Close black lens bracket. Pioneer Star. Huh. Surprise. What kind of surprise? Close black lens bracket. Why do I feel a little numb on my scalp? After seeing these words in the group, Xing, who was lying on the bed, turned over and sat up directly. The windows and doors were obviously closed, but there was still a heater heating the room. But somehow, I got goosebumps all over my body. Moyu said, will there be a surprise tomorrow? But why does it feel like it's more of a shock? This guy must be entertaining me again. Kamigawa Warrior Moyu. It's okay to have a numb scalp, but if you don't ask, I won't tell. Close black lens bracket. So irritable. Xing scratched the back of his head and rolled his eyes speechlessly. This guy definitely has intentions. Trailblazer Star. I knew it wouldn't be a surprise, and I'm really annoyed by the guy who talks halfway. If you want to say something, say it quickly. Hurry up. Pam is angry.jpg. Kamigawa Warrior Moyu. This is what you asked me to say. Pioneer Star. Hurry up. Close black lens bracket. Kamigawa Warrior Moyu. I advise you to take March Chi and Dan Heng and run away from the hotel tonight. Otherwise those waiting at the door of the hotel tomorrow will probably be the silver-maned iron guards who are here to arrest you. Close black lens bracket. Pioneer Star. Close black lens bracket. Xing slowly made a question mark. Will they be wanted by the silver-maned iron guard tomorrow? Is there a mistake? I didn't meet the big Asgardian until noon. Wait a minute. Could it be that the order to arrest them was issued by the great Asgardian Cocolia himself? No wonder I always felt something was wrong when I met the big Asgardian before. It turned out to be a delaying tactic. Blanche can't stay here any longer. Evacuate immediately. She didn't doubt that Moyu would lie to her. This is no good at all. Thinking of this, Xing didn't hesitate at all. He quietly opened the door and knocked on Dan Heng and March Chi's door furtively. After knocking on the door, he didn't say anything. He took out his mobile phone and typed a string of words in the group of 3 people. After a while, the doors of the 2 people's rooms opened in unison. Xing. Are you serious? March 7th shook the phone in her hand, with a confused look on her face. Looking at the words on the phone, Dan Heng also frowned. Are you worrying too much? Is the source reliable? Absolutely reliable. Xing didn't explain much, just said, in a word, do you believe me? March 7th and Dan Heng looked at each other. Believe it? Why don't you believe it? March 7th raised an eyebrow. If you don't believe me, why should you believe that big Asgardian you just met? Let's go. Let's go. We can't stay in this miserable place. Let's go directly to Yongdong Ridge and notify GZ and Uncle Yong on the way. I have no objection. Dan Heng just nodded and did not ask Xing about the source of this information. Everyone on the train has their own secret. I don't say it myself, and no one goes back to actively explore it, but chooses to believe and tolerate it. Although Xing had just boarded the train, Dan Heng was also a pioneer, and he was more willing to trust Xing than the big Asgardian he had only met once. Seeing that the 2 of them chose to believe in themselves, Xing also had a smile on his face. Okay. Let's set off now. Everyone, please pay attention. I'm afraid there are already secret sentries watching outside right now. They're all diving with Yingmei and Xing. The group slowly became quiet. Tony continues to be busy developing his Mark II suit. As for Rimuru, it seemed that he was being dragged to some banquet, and he lurked after the two of them. There was no more fun in the group for the time being, and Moyu also turned his attention to the real world. Now Tony already knows Obadiah Stane's personality and conspiracy. So will the next story develop as usual? Choose to hold back and wait for the opportunity to uproot the other party, or... While Moyu was thinking, the space behind him suddenly glowed with golden light and sparks bloomed. A golden circular portal with sparks flying opened, and a few snowflakes slowly floated out from behind the portal with cold air. Moyu, who had already noticed something strange when the sparks appeared, turned his head slightly. Kamar Taj's iconic portal. Although the door was open, no one was seen behind it. Noticing this strange point, the golden light in Moyu's eyes flashed. While investigating the situation behind the door, I also temporarily recorded the nature of this portal. This thing is different from micro-wormhole transport technology. If micro-wormholes are one of the technological applications of space in the microscopic aspect, then this portal represents the technological application of space in the macroscopic aspect. The underlying logic of the two has some similarities and is worth studying. Well, mainly because he wants to learn. After all, micro-wormholes are indeed not as convenient as portals in some cases. Dimensional teleportation. Moreover, this thing is not just a portal. The opponent's principle is to cut the space directly. If used well, it can be extremely lethal. Cutting from space cannot be prevented by ordinary means. After thinking about this, Moyu stood up, straightened his clothes, turned around randomly and stepped through the portal. The next moment Moyu stepped through the portal, the door closed. The temperature plummeted. Looking around, there is ice and snow. At the foot of the mountain peak, there are drifting snow-white clouds. Everest? After confirming his position, Moyu looked up towards the top of the mountain. What a big bald head. Ancient One Sorcerer Supreme Ancient One. Dimensions of Earth Asgardian. Although everyone is making fun of the fact that the ending of Ancient One dies because the special effects are too expensive. But it was actually the Ancient One who had had enough of his own life. After choosing Strange as the next Sorcerer Supreme, he abandoned his body and followed a certain great god as a holy spirit. The Sorcerer Supreme is not that weak, and it is even less likely that he will die from falling from a high altitude. Even if Caecilius attacks first. Sorry, I may need a little more time. Please forgive me for my negligence. The Ancient One on the top of the mountain has his hands in a seal, and the eye of Agamotto hanging on his chest is in an open state. The time gem inside shines brightly. Even the time gem was used, and the opponent was obviously not just standing on the mountain. So, are you observing the timeline? Because of him? You didn't come earlier, you didn't come later, but you came to him after he chose to test whether it could interfere with the plot. It's not quite right, after all, he took the initiative to test out more than a month ago. His interference to the world line is almost insignificant. If there was a problem, this door would have been opened long ago. Well, maybe it's not just him. There is only one special thing that happened today. Thinking of this, Moyu raised his head and said softly, "So, what's the reason why Magician came to see me specifically today?" The sound was neither loud nor quiet, but it passed through the wind and snow on the mountain top very clearly and reached the ears of the Ancient One Magician. The Ancient One Magician's closed eyes opened, and with a flick of his sealed hands, the time gem suddenly fell silent, and the eye of Agamotto also closed. Randomly turned his head to look at Moyu below, and said with a smile, "If I said, I just want to buy you a cup of tea, would you believe me?" "I believe it." Moyu also smiled and nodded, then spread his hands. "But this doesn't seem like a place to drink tea. Sorry, I was a little negligent." Ancient One smiled and raised his hand with a flick, and two portals appeared instantly, swallowing the two of them simultaneously. The scenery changes instantly. In front of us is no longer the world of ice and snow on the top of the mountain, but an antique living room. On the long table in front of Moyu, there was a cup of steaming tea. "Please sit down." Ancient One raised his hand to indicate, then sat down and looked at Moyu with a smile. "Good." Moyu didn't hesitate and sat down leisurely. He picked up the teacup in front of him and took a sip. The next moment, a cool feeling spread throughout the body. Moyu's eyes lit up. I feel relaxed and happy. The origin of this tea should not be on the earth, right? As long as you like it, Ancient One nodded with a smile and explained softly. When I visited the multi-universe before, the local products brought back from other dimensions were quite rare. I also thought about transplanting them, but unfortunately, the Earth's soil cannot sustain them. That's really a pity. Moyu nodded in agreement. Even though it was just a small sip, his feeling was unmistakable. This tea has the powerful effect of nourishing the soul and enhancing mental strength. Although the one-time improvement arc is relatively small, the effect accumulated over many years is still extremely considerable. Unfortunately, the Earth's soil cannot sustain it. Regret only lasts for a moment. Moyu put down the teacup and spoke again. Did the Ancient One magician just observe the future? So be it. Ancient One held the teacup in both hands, his eyes wandering. This is the first time in so long that I am moving forward in the mists of time, and the journey is filled with too many uncertainties. But precisely because of this uncertainty, I feel very surprised. Surprise. Moyu narrowed his eyes, and he probably knew what the Ancient One magician wanted to say next. In the setting of MCU, time is circular. Everything is happening at the same time, everything is ending at the same time. All events are established events and cannot be changed or violated. Changing the past is clearly impossible. Going back to the past will not change the future, it will only create another altered parallel timeline. What was the future like in the past? What is the future like now? There won't be any changes. Hence the concepts of sacred timelines, absolute points in time, etc. were born. But all this is not absolute. As long as you stand high enough, you can actually change the timeline of a single universe without creating a parallel world. However, that requires power beyond the 5 gods to do it. Power beyond the multi-universe level, with the Ancient One's ability. Plus the power of Time Gem. It's not impossible to see through all the possibilities in the MCU's sacred timeline. The half-assed Strange can do it, let alone the unfathomable Ancient One? The mists of time, for the Ancient One, most likely do not exist. But now, the other party said that as we move forward in the mists of time, the future we see is full of uncertainty. You can probably guess the reason. Thinking of this, Moyu whispered. Perhaps, the future full of uncertainty is the real future. A given future, a defined future. It needs to operate step by step and adhere to rules, like a pool of stagnant water. The uncertain future is full of vitality. Definitely, there may be some beings who don't like the uncertain future. For example, a certain Kong who will definitely appear in the future world. Or even a certain great god who planned these established futures. Maybe. Ancient One stood up with a smile, walked to the window with his hands behind his back, and said in an inexplicable tone. An uncertain future is indeed wonderful, but it is also dangerous. I've seen a lot of horrific disasters. You and Tony were the main triggers. There is something between him and you that I can't pry into at all, so I want to talk to you. Having said this, Ancient One paused and then turned around. Definitely, the main thing today is to treat you to a cup of tea, and the rest is secondary. It doesn't matter whether others believe this or not, Moyu believed it anyway. If the Ancient One had discovered from the beginning that he was not of this world, then I wouldn't have come to him so late. After all, the opponent is an Asgardian from the Earth's dimension. If it is obvious that he came to Earth from another dimension, then regardless of whether he is powerful or not, the Ancient One will definitely pay attention immediately. But Ancient One didn't do that. That can only mean one thing. The legal identity he brought with him when he time traveled was relatively perfect. At least it's a level where the Ancient One can't find any clues. Saved him some trouble. Thinking of this, Moyu said, does Magician want to see the uncertain future, or does he plan to correct everything? Not sure yet. Ancient One smiled and shook his head. Novel things always take some time to get used to. He said he was unsure, but he chose to adapt to new things. The tendency of Ancient One Magician is already obvious. She was clearly planning to gamble on an uncertain future. Understood. Moyu nodded calmly. I probably understand what you mean, Magician. If I need help, I won't say no if I can help it. Very good. Ancient One's eyes lit up slightly. Sorcerer Supreme's seat, how about you come and sit down? I thought you might be interested. Moyu was stunned. The hand holding the teacup paused. and he looked up at Ancient One in disbelief. Are you sure Magician isn't joking? Although he guessed that the Ancient One magician would choose to gamble on an uncertain future. However, he was not mentally prepared at all for him to sit on the throne of Sorcerer Supreme. Can anyone sit in that seat? In addition, even if he is interested in the position of Sorcerer Supreme, just because he is interested, it does not mean that he will sit on it. Once you sit on it, countless troubles will follow. That's not the life he wants. Worrying about this and that every day is exhausting, and I will never do it. On a whim. The Ancient One picked up the teacup and took a sip, then smiled and said, Strange will be the best among the Sorcerer Supremes. He is the most preferred, but not the only choice. Maybe you will be better than him. Listening to what Ancient One said, Moyu always felt like he had an old complaint in his heart. But after thinking about it, I finally held back. Whether he would be better than Strange he didn't know. But what he knows is that the position of Sorcerer Supreme is not available to him. Thank you Magician for your kindness, but I refuse. Moyu shook his head and said. The position of Sorcerer Supreme should be reserved for Strange. Well, if Magician has to choose someone else, I think Tony is pretty good. A certain version of Tony can become the Sorcerer Supreme, which means that Tony has the ability to become the Sorcerer Supreme. His level of excellence is no less than Strange. It can be considered a better choice, that's it. The Ancient One Magician nodded silently, it's a pity. Compared to Strange, who has not yet come into contact with the magic side, Moyu in front of him is definitely a ready choice. The opponent's strength is not weak. As long as he has a little contact with the multi-universe, he can understand the crisis that the Earth dimension is facing. And opened the library of Kamar Taj to him, and entrusted him with the Eye of Agamotto. In a blink of an eye, there will be a Sorcerer Supreme whose ability is not inferior to hers, or even more powerful than hers. But unfortunately, it was rejected, although I didn't have much hope at the beginning. As for the suggestion of Tony Stark becoming the Sorcerer Supreme, well, let's just keep that in mind for a while. Anyway, she needs to make the final decision herself. At a time when the future is already full of uncertainty, it is better to be prepared. Oh, right. Looking at the Ancient One Magician who was deep in thought, Moyu put down the teacup. If the Ancient One Magician thinks Strange and Tony are not good, then why not consider Wanda Django Maximov? She's also a good prospect. Hearing this, Ancient One raised his head. He said in an incomprehensible tone, Are you talking about Scarlet Witch? Yes. Moyu nodded. Wanda? Ancient One wanted to refuse immediately, but then seemed to remember something, rolled his eyes, and nodded lightly under Moyu's stunned gaze. Indeed, this child is also a good choice. No. I just said it casually, do you want to be so hasty? Are you sure it's okay to put Scarlet Witch in the Sorcerer Supreme's seat? It's not that Scarlet Witch's ability is not good, on the contrary, it is very good. After all, the upper limit of Chaos Force is too high. That is one of the three most primitive ancient forces in the universe. An existence alongside Phoenix Force and Fairy Power. Even Wanda in the MCU holds a castrated version of Origin Magic Power, but after fully growing up, she can easily crush Strange. Almost an all-round hammer. However, putting Wanda in the position of Sorcerer Supreme can only be said to be a mixed bag. If someone is not careful and does not guide it well, it will be a complete disaster. Well, not just the Earth. Rather, it is a catastrophe that affects the multi-universe. This is the terror of Chaos Force holders. Return to the Empire State Building from Kamar Taj. Moyu chose to slump on his recliner as usual, his face full of contentment. Spent an evening chatting with the Ancient One Magician in Kamar Taj and drinking all-you-can-tea. The scope of their chat covers time, space, multiple dimensions, reality dimensions, etc. Ancient One probably has nothing to gain. After all, Moyu is a complete newcomer in this area and doesn't know much. It is not so much an exchange as it is an on-site teaching set up by Ancient One to support the younger generations. This night, Moyu can be said to have benefited a lot. The technological side and the magical side are indistinguishable on a large scale. Both are the discovery, invention, and practice of knowledge, and they are knowledge systems that explore, study, and understand the laws of change in the universe. Collectively, science. Just like Kamar Taj's portal and Moyu's micro-wormhole technology, the underlying logic of both is the knowledge of space theory and the technical application of space. Essentially, it's the same. It is all a kind of knowledge. As long as you can learn it, you can use it if conditions permit. Just like last night, Moyu only explained the basic theory of micro-wormhole technology. Ancient One can easily get started and use micro-wormhole skillfully after knowing these basic theories. The same goes for the other side. After understanding the basic theory of Kamar Taj's teleportation gate, Moyu also immediately completed the elementary level mastery of the teleportation gate. He can easily replace dimensional energy with dark energy and open teleportation at will without borrowing the sling ring. Door. The door back is opened by Moyu himself. It's really useful. Moyu, who was lying down, raised his hand and waved, and a stack of thick covered books that looked very historical appeared on the table next to him. The Book of the Dead covers the era of the ancient gods, including the names and taboos of various ancient gods in ancient times, as well as the history of the overthrow of the ancient gods by the new gods. New Edition of the Universe describes the various divisions of the universe's dimensions, including but not limited to Dark Dimension, Hell Dimension, Heaven Dimension, 9 Realms, etc., and introduces the general division and situation of the universe today. Supreme Code. This book records the existence of the Sorcerer Supremes, focusing on describing the history of Agamotto, leading people to resist the new gods, telling the earliest origins of today's Kamar Taj, and its influence on the current sorcerer, an epic introduction to the Supreme Ancient One. Key of Solomon, as its name suggests, is like a key. It mainly teaches people how to unlock their blocked power, understand it, and after understanding it, you can open Solomon with countless treasures. The first 3 can be classified as introductions to the universe. It allows readers to have a very clear understanding of the structure and composition of the current universe, and to understand the concept of magic in an easy-to-understand manner. They are all foundations among foundations. The book Key of Solomon is the key to discovering your own power and opening the door to the mysterious dimension. Contains basic analysis and introduction of most magic. It is a must-read book for introductory magicians. And the last one is called The Book of Cagliostro, also known as the Book of Time. It is a forbidden book that talks about time, understands time, and uses time, and includes many time-related spells and forbidden arts. It can be called an artifact. It's an existence that the newbie magician can't understand at all. Only the Sorcerer Supreme of all generations can understand its meaning. From these things, it is not difficult to see that Ancient One magician still has not given up the idea of letting Moyu succeed Sorcerer Supreme. He accepted this love, but the position of Sorcerer Supreme will not be accepted. Bind yourself to a certain position for hundreds of years. At least Moyu can't accept it now. Maybe he can be a godfather to the next Sorcerer Supreme or something? Will help Kamar Taj when he's in trouble. Doing this is probably enough. After all, the books given to him by the Ancient One magician were indeed of great help to him. Any enmity must be avenged, and any kindness must be repaid. This is one of his rules. The Dark Plane Gene Engine started, recorded the contents of the first 4 books separately, and began to analyze them. After doing all this, Moyu waved his hand and put away the rest of the books. He picked up the Book of Cagliostro with one hand and looked at it carefully. It doesn't matter if he doesn't understand the language. His sharp eyes will automatically translate the words that come into his eyes into content that he can understand. Simple and convenient, you don't even need Google Translate. While Moyu was looking at it in a trance, there was a sudden knock on the door from behind. Exiting the world in the book, Moyu glanced at it and thought, and the door opened automatically. Tony, who was raising his hand to continue knocking on the door, was stunned for a moment, then looked into the room. "You're a pretty laid-back guy." When he saw Moyuji reading a book on the recliner, Tony took off his sunglasses and walked into the room complaining. "What are you reading so fascinated, Ly? Fashionable Girls Weekly. I just haven't read the new issue, why don't you give me a look?" There was a snap. Moyu closed the book directly, turned around and said, "You can't look at this thing for now, unless you plan to be involved in a more troubled world and take on greater responsibilities." "What?" Tony was stunned for a moment, squinted his eyes and looked at the extremely ancient-looking book in Moyu's hand, then looked around, turned around with great skill and took out a bottle of whiskey and 2 wineglasses from the wine cabinet. "If you don't want to read it, don't read it. I already have a lot of troubles, and I don't want to cause more trouble now. Can I drink this?" Although he seemed to be asking questions, his hands kept moving. He had already completed the actions of opening the bottle and pouring the wine. He even took a sip and handed another glass of whiskey to Moyu. Moyu rolled his eyes and raised his hand to take it. You're not polite at all. I thought we were already good friends. Tony shrugged. Isn't it? That's right. Moyu didn't refute. We are all members of the same group, and in terms of relationship, it is much better than outsiders. You came alone today? Ms. Pepper didn't follow? Definitely a person. Tony adjusted the slut's suit and sat gently on the sofa. I don't want Pepper to get involved in these troubles, so I came to you alone. Since the death of his parents and butler Jarvis, Pepper has been the only person who truly cared about him and entered his heart. He cares about the other person very much, so he doesn't want to get her involved in these dangerous things at all. Before, he had no choice, but it's different now. Moyu roughly guessed Tony's purpose, and immediately said, So, you want me to be a thug? Just take it as such. Tony took a sip of the whiskey in his hand and took a deep breath. As much as I didn't want to do it, he made it impossible for me. Do you know, I have obviously announced the closure of the Stark Arms Industry Department, but my company is still selling weapons to the outside world. Can you guess how I felt when Kristen threw the photo in my face? Those butchers are still using the weapons I made to protect civilians to kill innocent people. I know who did it, but I've been kicked out for the time being, and I can't solve it in the most legitimate way. Even Rod didn't want to believe me, saying I had some kind of post-traumatic stress disorder, and asked me to see a psychiatrist. Shit. Am I not clear about my situation, Tony? After listening to Tony's words, Moyu did not refuse clearly, but just smiled and said, The price for asking me to take action is very expensive. I'll pay you whatever it takes. Tony said without hesitation. After you kill Stane, everything he owns will be yours, plus 10% of Stark Industries. I personally owe you another favor. Listening to the reward given by Tony, Moyu was stunned. He holds 5% for himself, and Stane holds 25%, plus an additional 10% from Tony. Good guy, his personal shareholding has reached an astonishing 40%. Directly becoming Stark's largest shareholder. Even though the market value of Stark Corporation has declined due to the closure of its weapons department, it still hovers between 50 billion and 100 billion meters. Holding 40% of the shares, how many billions of meters is that? The minimum is 20 billion and the maximum is 40 billion. A generous act indeed. Give me so much, aren't you afraid that I will take your place and take your place? Moyu said with a smile. Take it if you want it, I don't really care anyway. Tony shrugged and pointed to his head with a smile on his face. As long as I'm here, I can have as many Stark Industries as I want. This damn pretender, but it's true. As long as Tony is still around, he can have as many Stark Industries as he wants. Is this true genius? Admired. Okay. Moyu shook his head slightly. Forget it then, I'll let you work for me. Tony was stunned, and the corner of his mouth twitched. Shit, you still want me to work for you? Can't you? Moyu spread his hands. Impossible. Tony shook his head without hesitation. Absolutely impossible. But I am the major shareholder. Moyu said with a smile, I hold 40% of the shares. You think too much. Tony's lips curled up slightly. It's only 40%, I still have 39% in hand, Pepper still has 10% in hand, and now only 11% of the scattered shares are outstanding. It's mine, it's still mine, I'm still the boss. Is there any difference? As long as you are happy? Moyu slowly stood up from the recliner. Okay, when are you going to do it? Don't worry about other things, but Tony rarely owes favors. His brain alone was enough for Moyu to take the initiative. You know, in the MCU, Tony is the only existence that is cursed by knowledge. In the comics, Tony even has the setting of holding the ego gem. There is no doubt that Tony is an all-round talent. Whether it is engineering, biology, astronomy or even quantum physics, there are few fields that Tony has not touched upon. For the time being, there is only the difference between being proficient and not being proficient. But this is only temporary. As long as Tony wants to, he can become the top being in any field at any time. Either way, it's a glimpse of Tony's intelligence. He is indeed a one-of-a-kind genius. With just one point, Moyu had no reason to refuse. I have single-handedly destroyed a group of terrorist bases and destroyed weapons sold by the Ministry of Industry. Tony got a glass of whiskey and said in a deep voice. I need to get the list of sales of weapons, but the company's server is independent. Jarvis cannot be hacked remotely. I need you to help me get the list, and then I will come forward to destroy it. I had no choice before, only Pepper you can help me, but it's different now. In addition, Tony's tone paused, as if he was hesitating something. Moyu, who probably understood what Tony was thinking, shrugged. You are responsible for destroying the weapons and leave the rest to me. He and Stane also had some personal grudges. This time it will be solved easily. Then let's do it now. Tony had just stood up, and before he finished speaking, the voice of Jarvis suddenly sounded in the earphones. Sir, Mr. Stane cut off the power supply to the villa area 1 hour and 30 ago, broke into your studio, and snatched the arc reactor you replaced. I was able to restart it with the help of Ms. Pepper, and we will notify you of this as soon as possible. What? Tony was stunned and said anxiously. Jarvis, where is Pepper? Is she okay? When Mr. Stane broke in, Ms. Pepper was hiding on the second floor, undetected and safe. Tony secretly breathed a sigh of relief. I understand, Jarvis. Tell Pepper not to go out, and I will take care of the rest. I'm sorry, sir. A minute ago, a government agent named Phil Coulson led a group of people calling themselves the Homeland Strategic Defense Attack and Logistics Support Agency, and took Ms. Pepper on a helicopter to the Stark Industrial Zone to arrest her. Stane. These bastards, Tony yelled angrily. Jarvis. Contact Pepper and ask her to come back quickly. Stane is in danger. Stane breaks into his studio and steals the arc reactor. Tony's first reaction was that Stane might also have mastered the design drawings of the Mark I, and had even produced a new model. Otherwise, why would he rob the arc reactor? When I escaped from the terrorists' lair, I was worried about Ethan's safety. Therefore, the design drawings and even the computer used to design the program were not destroyed in time. Stane was the mastermind behind the plot to kidnap him. He must have gotten these things from the lair of the terrorists. Now those bullshit government agents are taking Pepper to arrest Stane. Isn't that a sheep entering a tiger's mouth? How could a bunch of bullshit agents armed with small pistols possibly arrest Stane, who had already mastered the Mark armor? Dialing. Sir, Ms. Pepper's phone was left in the villa. Shit. Tony's face suddenly darkened. It really happened that the house was leaking and it rained all night. Very unlucky. Those damn agents won't come sooner or later. To take Pepper away at this time, I think the plans need to change. Tony took a deep breath and turned to look at Moyu with red eyes. Moyu, please help me protect Pepper, Stane. I will solve it myself. Originally, he still couldn't bear to attack Stane. But now that Pepper's safety has been endangered, Tony can't care so much anymore. He couldn't tolerate anything happening to the people around him, absolutely not. It's a small matter, get it done right away. Moyu smiled slightly. The dark plane gene engine starts and locks Pepper's location. Raising his hand and snapping his fingers, a golden portal opened beside him. The next moment, Pepper, who was sitting on the helicopter, was directly brought over by the portal. Before the agent on the other side could react, the portal closed instantly. Oh my god. The momentum that hadn't disappeared yet caused Pepper to stumble and crash into Tony's arms. Pepper. Tony quickly reached out and hugged her. Pepper, who was a little dizzy from being hit, looked up, and what caught her eye was Tony's worried expression. Tony? How is this going? Wait, I'm not on a helicopter? Now this is. Pepper covered her head, confused for a moment, but then she realized. Tony, listen to me, Stane. Don't worry. Tony raised his hand and patted Pepper on the shoulder, saying softly. Don't worry, I know it's okay. I'll take care of the rest. Don't worry, there's no danger, trust me. Then. Pepper seemed to be a little incoherent and gently rolled her hot cheek. After noticing the presence of someone else next to him, he subconsciously pushed Tony away, put his hands on the hair on his face, and said with some embarrassment. Please ask. Hello, Ms. Pepper. Moyu stretched out his hand with a smile on his face. First time we meet, my name is Moyu, just an inconspicuous small shareholder. Hello, Mr. Moyu, it's an honor to meet you. Pepper extended his hand to shake it symbolically, then turned to look at Tony subconsciously. Moyu, one of the shareholders of Stark Industries, originally held 2% of the shares. After the Stark Industrial Weapons Department was closed, he acquired scattered shares and now holds 5% of the shares. She still knows these basic information. What she doesn't know is, when did Tony and Moyu have such a good relationship? And it looks like Tony is visiting. In addition, is what happened just now related to Mr. Moyu? Bringing her straight out of a helicopter or something, it was magical. He is not a small shareholder, Tony shrugged. We'll talk about these things after we get back. It's safe here. You wait here for us to come back. Don't follow any bullshit agent again, okay? I will explain all this to you in detail when I come back. Oh well. Pepper pursed her lips and nodded heavily. Who made you my boss? I listen to you, but you must pay attention to safety. Don't worry, Tony nodded with a smile and pointed at Moyu. I have a top expert here. He can handle any danger and he will be fine. Moyu secretly rolled his eyes. Is this the elegance of Pardier? Although I know this is Tony's excuse to comfort Pepper. Well, but thinking about the fact that Tony was going to work for him next, Moyu felt a lot better. Hey, don't worry. Tony turned his head and rubbed his hands. That move just now should be able to send me back to the villa, right? The second generation of his mark armor has just been developed. The third and fourth generations are just first drafts. The portable armor currently only has one folder created. The Mark II armor cannot be assembled by a single person without the help of a robotic arm. But the drive from the Empire State Building back to Shore House takes too long. Therefore, Tony focused on the portal that Moyu had used to bring Pepper over just now, which made him dazzle. Although he wanted to ask more questions, it was obviously not the right time. It's not too late to ask again after Stane's problem is solved. He was very envious of this teleportation technique. Definitely no problem. Facing Tony's question, Moyu raised his hand again and snapped his fingers. Two portals opened at the same time. One leads to the basement studio of Coast Villa, and the other leads directly to the top floor of Stark Industrial Area. Wow! Pepper raised her hand to cover her lips with surprise on her face. Is this magic? Yes and no, Moyu shrugged. It's magic, but it's also science. It's both. Moyu turned to look at Tony. I'll leave the door open first. Let's go back and put on the armor first. Can I learn it? I should be able to learn it, right? Definitely, I will pay for the tuition. I will pay any amount. This thing is really cool. Tony started to walk towards the other end of the portal, but the way he looked back 3 times during this step really made Moyu a little nervous. Okay, go quickly. Moyu waved his hand. We will talk about these things later. Then it's settled. Seeing that Moyu didn't explicitly refuse, Tony was overjoyed after passing through the portal. He turned around, took off his suit and threw it aside. Jarvis, activate Mark Armor Suiting Procedure, Speed. Yes, sir. After looking at Tony who had already begun to dress, Moyu turned to Pepper and nodded slightly, then walked through another portal and went directly to the top floor of Stark Industrial Area. Pepper nodded in response, still staring intently at Tony who was putting on the Mark II armor. At this moment, the only presence in her eyes was Tony. That's who she likes. Although it is often worrying, Tony at this time is really handsome. The other side, on a helicopter flying to Stark Industrial Zone. The agents headed by Phil Coulson looked at each other and saw a hint of horror and confusion in each other's eyes. In their sight, with just a flash of golden light, a living person disappeared from the helicopter. This situation is really shocking and makes them confused. Sir, what should we do now? Let me think, Phil Coulson frowned and then said. Moving on, I need to make a debrief first, clear. After seeing that all the other agents were wearing earmuffs, Phil Coulson turned off the communication channel and took out his special mobile phone. There is no doubt that supernatural forces are involved in this mission. This is no longer something that he can decide at will. Although this is not the first time I have come into contact with supernatural forces, this is the first time I have seen this. Only after reporting to the top can the next course of action be decided. After all, anything involving supernatural powers is never simple. Turning on the safe call mode of the mobile phone and dialing someone's number, Phil Coulson spoke as fast as possible and made a report in the most concise and clear manner. The other end of the phone was silent for a moment, and a deep voice slowly sounded. Complete the mission, follow up, and I'll have Natasha Romanoff assist you. Understood, boss. After hanging up the phone, Phil Coulson opened the communication channel and issued an order. The mission to arrest Obadiah Stane continues. Notify ground teams and prepare sufficient firepower. When supernatural forces are involved and it is not known whether the other party is friend or foe, it's probably not possible to rely on small pistols in the hands of people like them alone. Heavy firepower is necessary. Tanks and helicopter gunships are essential. Clear. The team members nodded and began to execute the order. Looking at the Stark Industrial Park just around the corner, Phil Coulson took a deep breath. Hope everything is fine. Under night, boom. On the outskirts of Stark Industrial Zone, a line of fire flashed from far to near. What followed was a thunderous sonic boom. The red and gold Mark II armor suddenly stopped and floated steadily not far from Moyu. Hey, Moyu, have you seen that guy Stane? Tony's voice sounded from under his visor. Moyu was also a little speechless when he saw Tony, who refused to go through the portal but wanted to fly over like a coquettish guy. This guy loves the limelight as always. He raised his hand and pointed to the bottom of the reactor. It's down there. I'm probably still debugging my armor program. Let me take a look. Tony opened the scanning program and had a clear view of the situation below, and said with a slight sarcasm. Oh, what a naive fool. The reactor he snatched was just a defective product that I eliminated. Even the original Mark I armor can only maintain kinetic energy for 15 minutes. He actually uses it to drive this big guy. This level of energy output requirement should only be able to drive it for 3 minutes, right? I kind of pity him. The output power of the initial version of the arc reactor was not very high due to material limitations. At least Tony himself didn't like it at all, and he replaced it with a brand new one as soon as he came back. Stane actually planned to use it to drive bulky armor that was at least twice the size of Mark's armor. Tony felt sorry for him because of his weak knowledge base. I feel like there is no need for a fierce battle today. As long as he leads him to fly up into the sky, the final result will be that Stane will smash himself into a pulp. It's not challenging at all. Fortunately, he flew over in a hurry. Is this the result? It's so disappointing. Oh, is it so? Listening to Tony's needy tone, Moyu couldn't help but expose Tony's shorts. I don't know who was so anxious just now. The eyes are as red as a rabbit. It's a pity that I forgot to take a photo, otherwise it would damage Tony for the rest of his life. Well, definitely next time. Tony's eyes twitched slightly. Please, if we don't expose each other, we can still be good friends. Besides, aren't I worried about Pepper's safety? Okay, I won't tell you anymore, I'll deal with this guy first. A somewhat embarrassed Tony said he didn't want to talk to Moyu. Just raise your hands and hit the arc pulse with maximum power. Boom! There was a loud bang, and the cement partition was directly exploded, revealing the hole leading to the lower level. Then he drove Mark II straight down. Stane, lower level. Listen to the noise coming from outside. Stane didn't care about anything else. He hurriedly completed the debugging of the program and began to put on the Iron Overlord armor. As soon as he finished dressing up, the Mark armor driven by Tony galloped towards him and collided wildly with the Iron Overlord. The entire laboratory instantly became a mess. After breaking through 3 or 4 walls in succession, Iron Overlord also reacted, raised his claws to pinch the Mark armor, and threw it out. I have to say, Tony. Stane, who was driving the Iron Overlord, had a crazy face. I'm glad you didn't die and brought this back. I don't like this iron thing, but I have to admit, I do like this armor. That's ridiculous, right? Tony, what you created to protect, I will use to end your life. As long as he kills Tony, he can completely take over Stark Industries and build his own weapons empire. I have to say that Tony did give him a big gift. He really enjoyed it. Is it ridiculous? Tony, who held his armor steady, looked at Stane coldly. You sure are ridiculous, Stane. The energy of Mark's armor gathered rapidly, and the reactor on his chest glowed brightly. The maximum power pulse burst out instantly. Iron Overlord, who was completely unable to react, was hit by this powerful energy. The armor in front of him was broken into half, and the huge body was sent flying backwards by the terrifying force. Finally, it shattered the floor above and fell to the ground. Although it was very powerful, this shot could not kill him. Knowing this, Tony drove the Mark armor and followed closely, wanting to completely end this farce. However, Iron Overlord reaction was also very quick. The moment Tony rushed out, a pair of ruthless iron hands severely restrained Mark II in his palms. The next moment, a terrifying force came from the iron palm that restrained Mark's armor. The Mark armor forged from gold and titanium alloy began to shapeshift under this huge force. Go to hell, you brat. Iron Overlord lifted the Mark armor and threw it directly towards the sky. And raised his arms for the first time. the plug-in Gatling and rocket fire at the same time. A dense rain of bullets rained down on the Mark II armor. 2 rockets hit directly. Boom! The terrifying impact of the rockets made Tony unable to hold his armor steady, and he was forced to the top floor. The Mark armor, which was full of bullet marks and turned a little dark, fell upright not far from Moyu. Tisk, 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 who said it wasn't challenging at all just now? You seem a little too embarrassed, Tony. Moyu held the camera with one hand and took a picture of Tony's embarrassing scene. Great, +1 for Tony's dark history, shit. Tony, who was half lying down, looked at Moyu, who was taking pictures with black lines on his head. He raised his hand and slammed it on the ground, turned over and stood up, and said unyieldingly, "It's just a moment of carelessness. I'll fix it right away and show you." A mere useless piece of trash actually made him so miserable. You have to call it back beautifully. Otherwise, this will really become a dark history that he cannot wash away. Then I'll wait and see. Moyu shrugged, unable to comment. Actually, Tony doesn't have to fight Iron King. After all, the opponent's reactor is the first generation, its energy output is not high, and it is about to bottom out. After waiting another minute and a half, the Iron Overlord will be the fish waiting to be slaughtered on the chopping block after the energy is exhausted. Unfortunately, Tony said he wanted to show off his skills. You have to play close combat with a player who is obviously a strong player. Use your own shortcomings to attack the other's strengths. Although it seems a bit unwise at the moment, but in the long run, these seem to be part of the process of growth. Only by knowing your own shortcomings and recognizing your shortcomings can you strengthen and make up for them in the future and become stronger and stronger. From Mark 1 to Mark 85. From being injured even when faced with light firepower, to taking first blood from the Mad Titan, and finally to using 6 infinite rough stones to snap his fingers. Tony, isn't this how you got here step by step? After Tony got serious. The ensuing battle became extremely brief. Although it was still a close combat, Tony made good use of his own advantages and the opponent's weaknesses. In just 3 confrontations, one removed the opponent's external weapons and the other destroyed the opponent's optical transmission. The final blow was to crush the #1 reactor in the Iron Overlord breastplate, completely causing the Iron Overlord to lose all power. You lose, Stane, spend the rest of your life in jail. Throwing away the residue belonging to the reactor in his hand, Tony ignored Stane's unwilling roar after the failure and turned around and left with an indifferent expression. Sometimes, keeping a person alive is more torture than killing him. This is Tony's final punishment for Stane. See, I said I could handle it easily. Flying to the top of the building, Tony took off his mask and looked at Moyu with a proud face. It's indeed good. Moyu smiled and nodded. There's nothing for me to do next, so I'll go back first. Hey, wait. Tony grabbed Moyu, who was about to leave. It's okay for you to be watching the show next to me. Now it's not appropriate to leave like this, isn't it appropriate? What's inappropriate? Moyu spread his hands. Didn't you say that the plan changed and you only asked me to protect Ms. Pepper? Stane, did you solve it yourself? I have good protection for Ms. Pepper. You can only handle other matters by yourself. Tony raised his hands to cover his face and complained, okay, it's really yours. Although this is indeed the case. But this guy's process of doing things is really too easy. When I thought of it, the other party just waved his hand and opened 2 doors. In addition, after watching a scene, he can take away 35% of Stark Industries' shares from his side. He even got a favor from himself. Tony always felt like he was being taken advantage of. But, forget it, just hope Pepper is fine, and isn't that what the real world is like? People with strong abilities can often make large amounts of wealth just by using their brains and waving their hands. As for the people at the bottom, even if they work extremely hard, they only have enough food and clothing. Moyu is undoubtedly the former. There really is no wrong title in the group. Open black lens bracket Kamigawa Warrior Moyu close black lens bracket. I don't know where this guy's limit is. It seems that we need to find time to get to know it better. You're in trouble. Moyu turned around and looked at the landing armed helicopter and the members of S.H.I.E.L.D., heading towards the roof, and said, I'll go back first. I don't want to see these people. By the way, do you need to ask Ms. Pepper to come over? Definitely. Tony nodded when he heard this. She is my right-hand assistant. She is very good at dealing with this group of people and can save me a lot of trouble. Good. Moyu nodded slightly, walked through the portal, and came to Pepper. Miss Pepper, the matter has been resolved perfectly. Tony is safe, but now he needs your help. Thank you very much, Mr. Moyu. I'm sorry. Pepper put one hand on her chest, nodded to Moyu, and crossed the portal at a fast pace. Tony, are you okay? Do you need to notify your personal doctor? No, we'll talk about that kind of thing later. I need your help now, Pepper. But, no, please help me deal with those government agents. I need to make some preparations. This is very important. Okay. Looking at the scene of Love and Love next door, Moyu, who is single, twitched the corner of his mouth. Then he decisively waved his hand and closed the two portals, out of sight and out of mind. He didn't want to eat this cold dog food. He returned to the recliner with a relaxed body, took out the Book of Time that he had not finished yet, and continued to study and savor it. I have to say, today's life is really easy. He waved his hand to open two doors and brought someone in, giving him 35 shares and a favor from Tony. Tisk tisk. Thank you, Mr. Stane, for the free performance. Look at the situation where the other party gave me such a big gift package. I am an adult and don't remember the faults of villains, so I just want to spare his life. Anyway, this guy is not a threat at all. This is also the main reason why Moyu and Tony chose to let him spend the rest of his life in prison instead of direct humane destruction. After all, this idiot doesn't understand the essence of Mark's armor at all. Without mastering microfusion technology, there is no powerful, portable and huge energy source to support the action of the armor. No matter how good the exoskeleton is, it's just a piece of scrap metal. This thing is not on the same level as the revenge whip that Tony will encounter later. What's more, he couldn't jump. It's okay to just live the rest of your life in prison, if you want to continue to dance and make people disgusting. But he will die suddenly immediately. He's not some benevolent no-kill hero. The night passed quickly. Early in the morning. Washington. SHIELD's headquarters on the bright side, in the tri-curved wing building, in the director's office. Phil Coulson, who hurried back from Manhattan, New York, was giving a detailed report. On the office chair, Nick Fury was listening to Phil Coulson's report with a sullen face. Boss, the above is all the information we have currently. After finishing the report, Phil Coulson closed the document in his hand and quietly waited for Nick Fury to speak. Is that all? Nick Fury put his chin on his hands and raised his head slightly. You know that's not what I want to hear. It's him I want to know. As he spoke, Nick Fury took out a group photo, with someone on the edge marked in a red circle. The person marked by the red circle is Moyu. I know, but I still need to report it. Phil Coulson laughed dryly, threw the document in his hand into the trash can, and said seriously. Boss, Natasha Romanoff and I used our authority a little bit and collected some useful information. Target. Moyu, one of the shareholders of Stark Industries. There are traces of the past facts. His experience is completely consistent with what we have found. Preliminary judgment shows that the target of our investigation has an ability similar to space transfer, which can not only affect itself, but also affect others. In addition, the opponent seems to have the ability to track or lock the target. The target unerringly picked up Ms. Pepper aboard our helicopter in high-speed movement, and then transported Ms. Pepper to Stark Industrial Park. This was one of a kind. Before the turmoil in the Stark Industrial Zone, Tony Stark happened to go to the Empire State Building to visit him. Judging from the time, the reason why Mr. Stark was able to put on the armor and rush to the industrial zone so quickly was probably this person's work. This is one of the other two. The maximum distance of the target's ability is unknown, and the maximum upper limit is unknown. The source of the ability is also unknown. In addition, according to the investigation, the cause of death of the group of terrorists who kidnapped Tony is probably related to them. As for the deeper things, we have too little time to find out yet. Nick Fury was silent for a moment and said in a deep voice, "Where is your judgment?" I think. Phil Coulson thought for a moment and responded. The other party should be one of the targets that can be fought for. Then, the task of contacting him is left to you. Okay. Boss. Watch Phil Coulson leave. Nick Fury stood up and walked to the floor-to-ceiling window, quietly looking at the dim light in the distance. As the king of agents, he is destined not to trust anyone easily. Naturally, it is impossible to believe this information so easily. It's not that he doesn't trust Phil Coulson and Natasha Romanoff. On the contrary, Phil Coulson and Natasha Romanoff are his rare confidants, two of the people he trusts most. What he didn't believe was just the authenticity of this information. As Phil Coulson said, the history in this intelligence perfectly matches the information they found. But it was the completely consistent point that made Nick Fury suspicious. Too perfect is a flaw. Intelligence can be modified and forged, and the past can be covered up and hidden. If the trajectory in the intelligence is completely true, so, where does the other party's ability come from? There was obviously a problem with the intelligence. Someone must have done this, but at present, we don't know whether it is Moyu himself or the team behind the other party. If it is him, it means that the other party has extremely high attainments in counter-investigation. He has the ability to easily cover up his past and disguise himself as an ordinary person. If it's the latter, so where did this team come from? Why can't Natasha Romanoff and Phil Coulson's ability find cobweb horse traces? Nick Fury even suspected that Moyu was not from Earth. After all, he is someone who has come into contact with alien civilizations, and he also knows that there are some supernatural beings in alien civilizations. Aren't Captain Marvel, Carol, and the Skrulls the best examples? He would never forget the Skrulls' almost perfect disguise. He will also not forget Carol's powerful fighting power. Now this Moyu appears from nowhere. Will it be from Earth? If not, where did he come from? What is the purpose of contacting Tony Stark? You had obviously hidden it so well before, why did you choose to expose it now? A series of questions troubled him. It's just that he didn't reveal these thoughts to Phil Coulson, but kept them in his heart. He even chose to let Phil Coulson contact Moyu. Even if he is the king of agents, he is only immortal and will make mistakes sometimes. Maybe he was worrying too much. If Phil Coulson is successfully recruited, that would be the best. Failure only proved that his guess was correct. It would be better if Phil Coulson could dig out some details about the opponent. But this is not enough. Nick Fury raised his hand and pressed his ear curtain, and connected to someone's communication. Natasha Romanoff, find a way to enter Stark Industry and contact Tony Stark. I need you to find out his situation. Also, by the way, see if you can get relevant information about Moyu from Stark. Currently, he is the only one who has been in contact with Moyu. The relationship between the two of them should be good. Clear. The next day, press conference scene. Hey man, are you really not coming to my press conference? Forget it, I won't steal your limelight, as if you stole my limelight? Isn't it even more appropriate to go? What you said makes sense. Okay, after the press conference is over, do you want to come to my villa to play? I'm super interested in your portal. If you can use this technology, on my Mark armor, I probably won't need a robotic arm to assist with dressing. We'll talk about it then. Anyway, I have time, let's talk now. The only thing I want to know now is, how much can I buy this thing for? Money? Money doesn't work for this thing, so I'll hang up first. Looking at the communication that had been hung up, Tony suddenly felt a headache. It seems so. He was not short of money, but if he had money but couldn't spend it, he would be a bit muggle. He also knows that technology that transcends eras, or magic, is indeed not something that can be measured in terms of money. But wouldn't this render one of his greatest advantages completely useless? Should I use my own personal charm? That guy Moyu doesn't seem to be following this either. As for what else besides money, his bright mind is probably all that's left. But this thing is not worth exchanging. A bit of a headache. Forget it, let's talk in detail after inviting Moyu to the villa as a guest. There's no point in thinking too much now. Have you experienced it now? Pepper, who was arranging Tony's appearance, had a smile on her lips and teased softly. Experience what? Tony turned his head slightly, curious. Money can't buy you what you want, Pepper laughed. Tony shrugged. I did experience it, and it felt very bad. He had never tasted this feeling before, but now I experience it. There are many things in the world that money cannot buy. He wasn't so stubborn before, but now, even if there is a south wall in front of him, he has to try to hit it. Luxury houses, sports cars, beauties. Moyu will never lack these. Power. Moyu doesn't look like someone who is greedy for power. Otherwise, with his ability, he would have a lot of power. You have to find another way to impress him. As for whether Tony's goal is the teleportation technology Moyu showed, that's really hard to say, maybe only he knows. With the speech and testimony prepared by Phil Coulson, Tony stepped onto the podium with a calm expression. Another side. Moyu, who was sitting on the recliner, also rarely put down the book of time in his hand. His eyes were fixed on Tony's performance on the TV. The curtain on the MCU has been completely opened from today on. Many things hidden in the dark side will gradually surface. This world will soon become troubled, along with Tony's words, "I am Iron Man," fell. There seems to be new movement in the group chat that I haven't followed for several days. Tony on the TV seemed to be stunned for a moment, obviously in a trance. Moyu also shifted his attention. At this moment, the group was becoming a little lively because of a certain notification sound. Ding! Group member, Playboy Stark, has been renamed Iron Man Stark, hereby notified, close black lens bracket. Pioneer Star. Good guy, you can actually change your name. I do not know how. At Iron Man Tony, how did you do that? I'm a little curious, close black lens bracket. Slime Rimuru. Wow, I'm so biased. I obviously wanted to change my name before, but I couldn't do it at all. At Iron Man Tony, can you tell me if it's convenient? Close black lens bracket. Traveler Ying. Same question, at Iron Man Tony, close black lens bracket. Iron Man Tony. I'm sorry, I don't know. I just held a normal press conference, and then suddenly changed my name. This is not what I wanted, although I didn't like it very much either. That's it. Do you want to ask the magical Mr. Moyu? I always had a feeling he would know something. Close black lens bracket. Traveler Ying. It makes sense. At Xianhei Warrior Moyu, please give me the answer. Close black lens bracket. Pioneer Star. It makes sense. At Xianhei Warrior Moyu, please give me the answer. Close black lens bracket. Slime Rimuru. At Xianhei Warrior Moyu, please, I really want to know. Close black lens bracket. Kamigawa Warrior Moyu. Tony's group name change. This is something Moyu didn't expect, completely unexpected. However, this is already the case. As for the reason, Moyu probably knew it. Warrior Kamigawa Moyu. Forget it, boss. But I have some guesses about Tony changing his name. I don't know if it's right or not. Do you want to hear it? Close black lens bracket. Traveler Ying. Think. Close black lens bracket. Pioneer Star. Think. Close black lens bracket. Iron Man Tony. Same idea. Close black lens bracket. Slime Rimuru. I really want to know. Okay. Please, don't worry. Close black lens bracket. Kamigawa Warrior Moyu. Well, the reason why Tony's title was changed must be that the title of Iron Man has been recognized by the group. The only thing I can think of related to it is the word, beginning, close black lens bracket. Iron Man Tony. The beginning? Close black lens bracket. Ignoring the crazy reporters and the dark-faced roads next to him, Tony walked off the stage, frowning slightly. Some time ago, he gained a lot of relevant knowledge through a surprise attack. He had some vague guesses about the beginning that Moyu mentioned. Pioneer Star. I probably understand. The initial meaning is that the world you are in has begun to get on the right track. Just like when I woke up from the Black Tower space station, a star core and a phosphorus seal were implanted in my body. Wake up in the middle of the night, catch Paimon in the sea, Rimuru meet the storm dragon, accept the name and walk out of the cave. Traveler Ying. So, is this beginning the beginning of the story? Close black lens bracket. Iron Man Tony. In other words, the storyline of our world has begun. Close black lens bracket. Pioneer Star. Probably yes, your world is about to become troubled, or rather, your world has never been peaceful from the beginning. It's just a secret poke, and now you have to come in an open and honest manner, and be big when you come. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Iron Man Tony. Close black lens bracket. Hearing this, Tony's expression gradually became serious. A sense of urgency rose in my heart. The research and development of Mark series armor must be accelerated. Slime Rimuru. If that's the case, doesn't it mean that my group name will only be like this for the rest of my life? How can I fix it? Although there is nothing wrong with slime, every time I am misunderstood by a new person, I have to explain it all over again. I am really not an evil slime. Close black lens bracket. Rimuru, who had transformed into a human, was lying on the table with a speechless expression on his face. Although this is true, why not Rimuru Tempest? Isn't his friendship with Veladra recognized by the group? And wouldn't this name sound better? You won't be misunderstood by newcomers or anything. It always feels like this group is targeting it. Pioneer Star. Accept your fate, Rimuru. Besides, there's nothing wrong with it. Peeved. I didn't laugh, I really didn't laugh. Close black lens bracket. Traveler Ying. Well, indeed, Paimon said that the slime mushrooms are quite delicious. In addition, when they don't actively attack me, they are round and slippery and look quite cute. Peeved. I didn't laugh either, really. Close black lens bracket. Slime Rimuru. You guys have been laughing and haven't stopped. Damn it, close black lens bracket. Kamigawa Warrior Moyu. Actually, there is no need to be pessimistic. Judging from the fact that Tony can be renamed, the possibility of changing his name exists. Maybe. When Rimuru completely evolves from a demon king to a demon king. Sometimes, your group name may become Demon Lord Rimuru, close black lens bracket. Slime Rimuru. Evolved from a demon king species to a demon king? Demon King Rimuru? Yabe, wouldn't that be worse than slime and more easily misunderstood? Close black lens bracket. Rimuru covered his head, and there was already a picture in his mind that could not be explained even by crazy explanations. The title of Demon King is definitely worse than slime. He is really not an evil being. When I think about the future, the first impression in the minds of newbies who join the group will be the image of a demon king who destroys kingdoms and worlds at every turn. Rimuru felt a little hopeless. Why is this happening? It's just bullying. How can it be repaired? When will this group chat become smarter? At least delegate the right to change names to group members. Iron Man Tony. Don't worry, if this is really the beginning. Will I face more challenges next? Natural disaster? Man-made disaster? Or an alien invasion? Close black lens bracket. Pioneer Star. According to the consistent development of the story, believe me, there is a high probability of all the things you said. Close black lens bracket. Traveler Ying. It's really bad. Just like me, I was obviously just going to Mondstadt to find news about Kong Kong, but I was inexplicably involved in the Taveran incident. Now that I think about it, it's really hard to calm down. Live. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket Iron Man Tony. Close black lens bracket Tony's eyes narrowed slightly, and he was already preparing to create a top-secret file. Crisis awareness was greatly aroused. Although it feels good to be immersed when reading the story, when the person who needs to face the crisis becomes yourself. That feeling is really bad. Kamigawa Warrior Moyu. The two of them are right. All of the above will indeed happen. Some involve the safety of a country, some involve the safety of all mankind, and some involve whether the Earth can still exist, and there may even be consequences. Events across the universe. Only disasters you can't imagine will happen. Close black lens bracket The real catastrophe is the Dark Elves, Thanos, Ego, Dormammu, the Celestials, and the possible appearance of Kong the Conqueror. Compared with these, the little losers like Snake and Shield are simply the scum of scum. Traveler Ying. So. The smallest crisis you will face next is a disaster of the level that is enough to destroy a country? Close black lens bracket. Kamigawa Warrior Moyu. That's not a big deal, this is already considered a catastrophe. Close black lens bracket. Traveler Ying. That's it. That's not so bad. Close black lens bracket. Trailblazer Star. Isn't it bad? Ying, you are happy too early. Although there are some evil forces here who often destroy civilizations, blow up planets, destroy galaxies, etc. The crises that affect the entire universe are actually not too many. If Tony and Moyu's world is similar to mine, then I can only say it's terrible. Close black lens bracket. In her world, there is a dark matter army under the command of the star god Nanook. Isn't that what you do? It destroys the main body of civilization at every turn, destroys planets at every turn, and even has the army of the Lord of Extinction burn down an entire galaxy. She could fully imagine the despair she felt as a target of destruction. Traveler Ying. Then, you have to be extra careful. Close black lens bracket. When I think about the frequent occurrence of disasters that can affect the entire country, even the entire Teyvat, and even the infinite universe. Yingmei felt a little shuddering. Open black lens bracket Iron Man Tony. Close black lens bracket. Tony said. He was numb. This is really a hellish world. Mark II is not enough. Tony, who was driving his luxury car back to his beach villa, frowned. I am constantly thinking about the future development of the Mark series armor. If today is the beginning of everything, then there will definitely not be much time left before the disaster comes. 1 year? 2 years? 3 years? Or just a few months? We really have to face the kind of disaster that can affect the entire Earth and even the entire universe. The Mark series armor needs to be powerful enough. Moreover, just arming yourself with Mark armor is not enough. After all, he is only a human being and his hands are not long. If possible, he wants to create a powerful enough Iron Legion. Use this as the external defense line for the entire Earth. But if you want to create that number of Iron Legions. Tony grinned. I didn't expect that there would be a day when I didn't have enough money. The total cost of the Mark II is about 100 million to 150 million gold. Even if you save costs and only retain the most basic combat capabilities, the cost of a set is at least 30 million to 50 million meters gold. If expanded into a legion, the number should be at least 1,000 and more than 5,000. According to the maximum budget, approximately 250 billion funds are needed. This is without counting price increases. The current total market value of Stark Industries is only about 150 billion. Although there will definitely be growth in the future. But where does he have so much liquidity now? However, precisely because of this, Tony has enough motivation. It has to be difficult to be considered a challenge. Isn't it? Besides, he is not alone. That guy Moyu is mysterious, and he must know a lot of supernatural power holders. After all, you won't be alone. However, the worst outcome still needs to be considered. You cannot fight an unprepared war. Maybe you need to invite Moyu to your home a little earlier. I must re-understand the world through Moyu. Unknown things, mysterious things, seem to be far beyond his knowledge. Why are you so excited all of a sudden? The roar of engines echoed across the valley. The coastal villa is already within easy reach. Traveler Ying. Although I know that your world is in trouble, it seems that we can't help. It's a pity. Close black lens bracket. Pioneer Star. Yes, it's very strange. It's obviously a group that can connect different dimensions and worlds, but there is no option for world teleportation, no store, and no points. It seems very useless. Close black lens bracket. Slime Rimuru. I wholeheartedly agree with this. I really want to play in your world, but unfortunately, I don't even give you a chance to meet. Close black lens bracket. Traveler Ying. Photo.jpg. Photo.jpg. I can only send you some scenery pictures to satisfy your craving. Close black lens bracket. Slime Rimuru. It's useless to look at plums to quench my thirst. It will only make me more greedy, you bastard. Close black lens bracket. Traveler Ying. Is it my fault? Close black lens bracket, Pioneer Star. Photo.jpg. Unfortunately, there is no good scenery here. Most of it is a white dilapidated ruin. Close black lens bracket. Looking at the photo sent by Xing, which clearly belonged to Shacheng District, Moyu raised his eyebrows. Kamigawa warrior Moyu. Xing, didn't you set off to Yongdong Ridge to seal the Star Core? Why did you go to Shacheng District again? Close black lens bracket. He has already warned Xing. Logically speaking, the development of the story should be somewhat different. But now it seems like something weird has happened. Pioneer Star. Well, it's a long story. Close black lens bracket, Traveler Ying. It's okay. I'll listen to you for as long as you want. Anyway, I've just arrived at Wangshu Inn to rest. I have plenty of time to listen to your story. Tell me quickly. I'm very curious. Close black lens bracket. Slime Rimuru. Ah, yes, me too, me too. There are no mobile phones or computers here. It's really boring sometimes. It's good to listen to stories. Close black lens bracket. Pioneer Star. These guys are really. Xing scratched his head and continued to speak. Pioneer Star. After you reminded me that night, I directly persuaded Yu Qi and Dan Heng to run away from the Gerda Hotel. I wanted to go directly to Yongdong Ridge to seal the Star Core. Obviously, they were perfectly bypassed along the way. Staring at the secret whistle of the Gerda Hotel. Not even discovered by anyone. But on the way to Yongdong Ridge, we were still blocked by the silver-maned iron guards led by Bronya. I was a little curious about how they blocked us. We had no choice but to break into the rift, and the final result is as you can see. Close black lens bracket. Speaking of this, Xingye was a little depressed. He had obviously run away in advance, so why was he still stuck in traffic? Is it possible that Kokolia also has the ability to foresee the future? Traveler Ying. It's indeed a bit strange. Are there secret whistles and eyeliners that you haven't noticed yet? Close black lens bracket. Pioneer Star. Impossible, absolutely impossible. Even if March Chi and I are unreliable, Dan Heng is absolutely reliable. There is no way there is a secret whistle that he has not discovered. Close black lens bracket. Slime Rimuru. Maybe that big Asgardian has a special ability to locate your location or something. Close black lens bracket. Pioneer Star. Well, yes, Rimuru's statement is more reliable. After all, we know nothing about this great Asgardian. Maybe she really has the ability to locate our location. Close black lens bracket. Kamigawa Warrior Moyu. Ahem, Xing, have you ever thought that the problem is actually you? Close black lens bracket. Trailblazer Star. Huh, on me. What can be wrong with me? Wait, Moyu, are you talking about that? Close black lens bracket. Kamigawa Warrior Moyu. It's just what you think. Close black lens bracket. Pioneer Star. Hiss, no way. No, I have to go find Yu Chi and Dan Heng first. GZ and Uncle Yang must be notified of this matter. Dive. Close black lens bracket. After the words fell, there was no more movement from Xing in the group. Apparently he was busy with work, but at this moment, the group was still not quiet. Slime Rimuru. Hey, are both of you guys riddlers? Speak clearly, asshole. I hate the riddler the most. Close black lens bracket. Traveler Ying. It's so fun. Well, it's better to explain such an important thing clearly, right? Close black lens bracket. Iron Man Tony. Same question. Close black lens bracket. Slime Rimuru. Good guy, so you've been peeking at the screen? Close black lens bracket. Iron Man Tony. What is screen peeking? I just don't have time to speak, but I'm listening carefully. After all, how can I be spared such a fun thing? Close black lens bracket. Traveler Ying. You are still awesome, and you don't hide it at all. Close black lens bracket. Slime Rimuru. Okay, let's not talk about this for now. At Xianhei Bing Moyu, come and explain. I feel so itchy and uncomfortable. Close black lens bracket. Kamigawa Warrior Moyu. Why are there so many fun-loving people in this group? Me too? That's okay. Happy people share happy things. It sounds pretty good. Warrior Kamigawa Moyu. I said before that the problem lies with the star. In fact, it is not rigorous. It would be better to say that the problem lies with the star core within the star. Close black lens bracket. Traveler Ying. The problem lies in the star core. Could it be that the star core has autonomous consciousness? And the star core on the star actively exposed the coordinates of the star? Close black lens bracket. Kamigawa Warrior Moyu. That's not the case. The star core on the star is currently in a stable state of being sealed. Even the bewitching star cannot do it, let alone actively expose the specific coordinates of the star. Close black lens bracket. Slime Rimuru. Oh, I understand. The culprit is actually the star core of Yulilo 6. Although the star core on the star is in a sealed state, the one on Yulilo 6 is still active. It should have located the coordinates of the star with the star core sealed in its body, and then... Wait. Close black lens bracket. Iron Man Tony. I know what you want to say. Xing was very clear that they were not targeted by the secret whistle, but Cocolia, who issued the arrest warrant, still quickly and accurately locked Xing's location, which means, as a city builder, the Asgardian Cocolia lady has been bewitched by the star core, and at least she has an unknown transaction with the star core. Close black lens bracket. Traveler Ying. That's it, this situation is bad enough. Officials and pirates have joined forces to persecute Xing, who is a fisherman. The current situation is very bad. Close black lens bracket. Slime Rimuru. At Pioneer Star, are you watching? Take the time to prepare countermeasures, your situation is very bad now. Close black lens bracket. Pioneer Star. I have informed GZ and Uncle Yang of the relevant situation, and I am currently thinking of a solution. Close black lens bracket. What can she do? It's just that the local forces don't support the sealing of the star core, but they actually help the tyrants, beat them up, and join forces with the star core to deal with them. What on earth is this Cocolia thinking? The dangers of star cores are known to the entire universe. Why did Cocolia? Oh, I almost forgot. Yalila has been out of touch with the universe for hundreds of years. But even so, the harm of the star core is still visible to the naked eye. The ice and snow covering the planet and the expanding rifts all illustrate this. Could it be that Cocolia was really bewitched or even controlled by the star core? Has he become a puppet of star core? Thinking of the murmurs that have popped up in my mind from time to time in the past 2 days. Xing's eyes suddenly became a little complicated. If that level of babble continues day after day, even if you are not bewitched, it is still a great mental torture. Belobberg's great Asgardians. Even under such circumstances, will Belobberg continue to this day? He lowered his head and looked at the various information described by Uncle Yang and GZ in the group. Sheng frowned slightly. Belobberg's situation seemed to be much more serious than he imagined. Traveler Ying. The person in power turned into a dragon or something, and I suddenly felt sad. Close black lens bracket. Iron Man Tony. It is commonplace and has long been used as a strange thing. The things that those in power have to consider are never on the same line as ordinary people. Close black lens bracket. Slime Rimuru. Sure enough, I'm still not good at thinking about these issues, so I chose to give up. Close black lens bracket. Kamigawa warrior Moyu. You can't give up, Rimuru. Don't forget, you are in power now too. Think about Tempest, think about the monsters that follow you, think about the children who are growing up day by day before your eyes. If one day, because you, as the person in power, are too naive and kind-hearted, Tempest is burned to the ground, all the monsters who follow you are slaughtered, and everything you cherish no longer exists. Can you imagine that scene? Close black lens bracket. Iron Man Tony. Tisk, this is really a top guy. If this guy said is actually something that must happen on a certain timeline, right? Close black lens bracket. Traveler Ying. It's hard to disagree. It's probably not unreasonable. Rimuru, you have to be careful. Close black lens bracket. Slime Rimuru. The Rimuru was declared sunk. Everyone fell silent. That kind of scene was unimaginable. Just looking at the rows of words in his mind made Rimuru shudder. That kind of future, Benimaru, Shuna, Xian. The human beings he cherished died, and Tempest was burned to the ground and turned into ruins. Rimuru remained silent. Moyu is a prophet, a person who has read comics, movies, or novels. Maybe it was because he had a glimpse of the future that he sent out a kind reminder? In other words, in the future, it is possible that Tempest will be completely wiped out and he will be the only one left to survive? I will never let that kind of future happen. The terrifying magic element spread out from the seemingly thin body, and the sky seemed to dim for a moment, but it was fleeting. Rimuru-sama. Master, what happened? But it was only at this moment that more than 10 figures flashed to Rimuru's side. Everyone looked serious, as if facing a formidable enemy. Why are you all here? Rimuru smiled dryly, scratched his head, and quickly explained, sorry, I just thought of something bad, and I'm really sorry for disturbing everyone. It's okay, it's really okay. Real? It's definitely true. Well, Rimuru-sama is really dishonest. What's the matter? Rimuru, who had spent a lot of effort to persuade everyone to leave, breathed a sigh of relief. Then his expression became serious again. The possibility that Moyu mentioned had to be guarded against. You must prepare early, but you can't do it too abruptly, you have to do it inadvertently. Subtle, little by little changes, but, how to do it? You can't tell Benimaru and the others about these things openly. Maybe everyone in the group can help me think of a solution? Thinking of this, Rimuru turned his attention to the group again. Slime Rimuru. Although I hate spoilers, I have to say that I will make an exception this time. Close black lens bracket. Traveler Ying. It smells so good, Pioneer Star, really fragrant. Open black lens bracket Iron Man Tony. It smells so good, close black lens bracket, Kamigawa warrior Moyu. +1. Slime Rimuru. Hey, you bastards, can't you say something useful? Close black lens bracket. Traveler Ying. The key is, even if we have the will, we are powerless. Close black lens bracket. Pioneer Star. Indeed, I can't help even if I want to. At most, I can only give some verbal advice. Close black lens bracket. Slime Rimuru. Rimuru is numb. What should I do if my group friends are unreliable? Waiting online. Urgent, Kamigawa warrior Moyu. Actually, there is no need to rush, there is still a long time before that time. In addition, the main reason is actually because of yourself, Rimuru. Close black lens bracket. Look at Moyu's speech. Rimuru was slightly stunned while thinking. The main reason why that scary future scene appears is because of me? Slime Rimuru. Because me? Why? Could it be that I made some wrong decisions in the future? Close black lens bracket. If that kind of future was caused by his fault, then now he has this level of understanding. It should be relatively easy to avoid making mistakes here and avoid a future of total annihilation. Kamigawa warrior Moyu. It's not a decision-making mistake in the later period, it should be said. It's a hidden danger planted in the early stage. Well, the 3 decisions you made when you conquered Lanya and established the monster village tone. Do you remember? Close black lens bracket. 3 tones? Rimuru was silent for a moment, and his eyes suddenly widened. Is Moyu talking about the 3 rules he set for everyone back then? First, do not attack humans. Second, there should be no internal strife among companions. Third, do not look down upon other races. Rimuru knew what kind of existence humans were. At that time, both he and the goblin village were very weak. In order to avoid causing a crusade against the human population after attacking humans, this rule was specifically set to avoid large-scale conflicts between his monster village and humans. The second one needs no explanation. Article 3 is also easy to understand. All species in Rimuru's world have the possibility of evolving into higher races. Even the lowest level slimes are the same. His presence is enough to prove it. If they despise and humiliate other groups when they are weak, what if someone suddenly evolves into a more advanced race and comes back with revenge? In order to avoid the above conflicts, Rimuru established these 3 rules. But now, Moyu said that the ending of total annihilation is related to these 3 rules. Rimuru said it was a bit numb. He made these 3 rules just to avoid getting into trouble. Didn't he expect that the ending of total destruction was also because of these 3 rules? No. That's not right. Based on his understanding of everyone, the possibility of internal strife between companions is 0. The possibility of bullying other weaker races is almost 0. In other words, the problem lies in the first point, not attacking humans. Rimuru was slightly silent. Since these are the rules he has set, based on his understanding of everyone, no one will knowingly break them. In other words, the problem, at least, is not here. A slightly absurd possibility gradually emerged in my mind. Slime Rimuru. 1. Do not attack humans. 2. Do not fight among companions. 3. Do not despise other races. No matter how I think about it, I don't think it can be the second and third items, so don't worry. The problem lies in the first rule, don't attack humans, right? Close black lens bracket. Kamigawa warrior Moyu. The correct answer is that because of the existence of this rule, your friends are almost silently enduring all human behaviors. During a certain period of time after you left Tempest, especially Empest was attacked by a certain force. And because of the existence of this rule, no one resisted, so, you know the result. Close black lens bracket. Slime Rimuru. I understand, thank you for reminding me. Close black lens bracket. These idiots. Rimuru raised his hands to cover his head and said with a smile and a cry. Sometimes. I really hope you don't listen to me so much. You are bullied and don't even fight back. How can you be so stupid, guy? I have decided that no matter where I go from now on, I will definitely leave a duplication at home. After all, these guys are really silly and cute sometimes. In addition, the content of this article also needs to be revised to a certain extent. Traveler Ying. So, based on the previous content, this first rule may have been misunderstood, right? Close black lens bracket. Pioneer Star. Absolutely, not attacking humans is probably understood to mean not attacking humans, close black lens bracket. Iron Man Tony. This rule should be changed. Although I am also a human, it is precisely because I am a human that I understand this group. Humans are sometimes more terrifying than demons. You need to be prepared. Close black lens bracket. Pioneer Star. It really needs to be changed, such as changing it to not actively attacking humans, but you can fight back if attacked, or something like that. Close black lens bracket. Traveler Ying. Agree. Rimuru's starting point is undoubtedly good. In addition, if you need to modify this article, you need to find a better time. Changing orders overnight is one of the most taboo things for those in power. Close black lens bracket. Slime Rimuru. Thank you everyone, I will take care of it. Close black lens bracket. Iron Man Tony. It is necessary to have a crisis response strategy. You cannot wait until something happens before making a decision. That would be a bit late. How about I recommend some books to you? It may be helpful. Close black lens bracket. Private red envelope has been received. Close black lens bracket, Slime Rimuru. Thank you very much, but why is it in English? Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket Iron Man Tony. Close black lens bracket so you can't read English. If I didn't tell you earlier. Kamigawa Warrior Moyu. Don't you understand English? Close black lens bracket. Slime Rimuru. What? Actually I only know a little bit, common words are fine, but a whole book is in English, so I just. Traveler Ying. Let the great sage come up, are you stupid? Close black lens bracket. Slime Rimuru. Suga, I almost forgot, hee. Rimuru immediately devoured several books and gave them to the great sage to analyze slowly. I have to say, great sage is really useful. Traveler Ying. Hey, what do you mean? Close black lens bracket. In reality, having an ee monster is a bit of a headache. I didn't expect there were people in the group. Pioneer Star. Alas, I also want a great sage. Because of my amnesia, I have a lot to learn recently and my head is heavy. Close black lens bracket. Traveler Ying. Who doesn't want it? Can you please give me a dozen of such a useful great sage? Close black lens bracket. Iron Man Tony. Together, close black lens bracket definitely, compared to the two guys above, Tony actually wants to study this so-called great sage, and then use it to upgrade Jarvis. He trusts Jarvis more than a strange ability. It would be great if Jarvis could become a real artificial intelligence life. Strong artificial intelligence is, after all, just artificial intelligence. You can't even afford the word life, Slime Rimuru. Okay, let's not talk about my side. Things haven't happened yet anyway. As long as I take precautions, I can avoid these things from happening. Let's talk about the situation on your side first. Her situation is more urgent than mine. Close black lens bracket. Traveler Ying. That's right. Rimuru's side is what will happen in the future, but the problem on Hoshi's side is already imminent. Close black lens bracket. Iron Man Tony. Unfortunately, we can't help. If you can give me some time to study the Star Core, maybe there will be a solution. Now. I can only say that I can't help. Close black lens bracket. Trailblazer Star. Oh, so Tony, are you actually also a researcher? Close black lens bracket. Iron Man Tony. What do you mean? I'm the top genius. Okay, close black lens bracket. Traveler Ying. Generally speaking, people who say this are half-assed. Close black lens bracket. Iron Man Tony. Angry.jpg. Close black lens bracket. Seeing this, Moyu raised his eyebrows. As a person cursed by knowledge, if the Star Core fell into Tony's hands, he might be able to research something. This guy's mind can't be treated according to common sense. To be honest, Tony's brain is comparable to guys like Big Wolf and Tomcat who can build anything. Kamigawa Warrior Moyu. Shing, you can let Tony give it a try. If this guy is determined to study something seriously, sometimes unexpected things will happen. Maybe he can I can really research something. Oh, by the way, if possible, send me a copy as well. I also want to see if I can research anything. Close black lens bracket. Pioneer Star. Well, since I have Moyu's endorsement, no matter what. Let's try it. Although I can't directly give you a Star Core to study, I have information about the Star Core here. The one from the Black Tower can be used as a substitute for the time being. Close black lens bracket. There is a Star Core called the Cancer of All Worlds in his body, and Shing can't care about it even if he doesn't want to. Although I don't have high hopes. After all, in her universe, countless researchers have studied Star Cores for hundreds of years, but there is no definite conclusion. Even the Black Tower, a member of the Genius Club, seems unable to study the existence of the penetrating Star Core. Tony. Can that work? Although he had no expectations, Shing still sent a copy of the data package. What if? Right, private red envelope received. Iron Man Tony. Okay, got it, give me a little time, one night at most. Then I will give you a conclusion whether it works or not. Let's dive in first. Close black lens bracket. Kamigawa Warrior Moyu. Received the same message, I will also study it all night to see if there will be any results. Close black lens bracket. Pioneer star. It doesn't matter, I still have one night. Close black lens bracket. Tony did not respond. It seemed that he had already started studying the data about the star core sent to him by the star. Probably because he wants to research something and completely confirm his status as a super genius? 2. You can doubt Tony's other aspects, but you can't question his intelligence. Otherwise, he might really become anxious with you. The other end. After also receiving the data packet from the star, Moyu's attention also shifted away from the group. Star core, I don't know what its ingredients are. I'm a little curious. Moyu's eyes flickered, and his fiery eyes were already opened. The data flow and the dark plane gene engine were connected immediately. The data has been sorted and the data model is being established. Complete the establishment and start calculation. Solving. Estimated complete solution time requirement. 3 hours. 3 hours. So short? The 3 hours of solving time made Moyu a little surprised. But then he understood the key to this. What Xing sent him was the data obtained by Black Tower through the study of star cores. Just a data model. Black Tower may not have thoroughly studied the star core thing itself. What Moyu is doing now is just filling in the possibilities of this utopian model. Restore the essence of the star core as much as possible. With a frame in place, filling in content is a little easier. But the final result is not necessarily correct. Because he is only filling in the data model established by others, and is not directly studying the star core. However, the data framework built by Black Tower has some gaps. Then the final result Moyu got must be full of mistakes. Definitely, this is based on the premise that Black Tower's data model is wrong. If the data model is correct, thinking of this, Moyu was stunned. If the data model is correct, it means that Black Tower has figured out the nature of the star core. We have even reached the final conclusion. As for why it is still a data model and not filled in. Maybe Heda, who knew the result, had lost interest in the star core. After all, Heda is such a willful person. In order to confirm this, Moyu once again focused his attention on the group. Kamigawa Warrior Moyu. At Pioneer Star, I have a question to ask about the star core, if you don't mind. Trailblazer Star. Problem? Just ask and I will answer whatever I can. Close black lens bracket. Kamigawa Warrior Moyu. Is the Black Tower still studying you and Xing recently? Close black lens bracket. The star on the other end was stunned for a moment. What kind of weird question is this? Although the question was a little weird, Xing chose to answer it truthfully. Pioneer Star. It was there in the beginning, but recently I have been asked to test the simulated universe, and the topic of star cores seems to be rarely mentioned. Close black lens bracket. Kamigawa Warrior Moyu. Very good, Hammer, it seems I was right. Close black lens bracket. Pioneer Star. Close black lens bracket, Traveler Ying. Close black lens bracket, Iron Man Tony. Close black lens bracket. Slime Rimuru. Close black lens bracket. Don't worry about these words. The group was suddenly filled with question marks. Pioneer Star. Hey, wait, what did you hit? What did you guess? Why can't I understand it all of a sudden? Close black lens bracket. Traveler Ying. Moyu, please make it clear, don't be the Riddler, you bastard, I hate the Riddler the most. Also, is the star simulated universe or something like that the universe? I understand. Close black lens bracket. Slime Rimuru. I don't know why. Simulating the universe, isn't that what I understand it to be? Close black lens bracket. Iron Man Tony. I'm afraid. Yeah. Close black lens bracket, Pioneer Star. Simulated universe, as the name suggests, is what you understand. Close black lens bracket, Traveler Ying. So scary, open black lens bracket Iron Man Tony. So scary, close black lens bracket, Slime Rimuru. So scary, Pioneer Star. Don't be crooked, you bastard, now is not the time to talk about this. At Shinhei Warrior Moyu, hurry up and explain. You spoke so mysteriously that it made me feel uncomfortable all over. Close black lens bracket, Kamigawa Warrior Moyu. That's it,